Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto x Ichimaru Bleach crossover part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Well, how did I end up here? That's what I was thinking when I woke up in the middle of some huge forest. Last I checked I was lying on the ground dying after I put a hole in Mr. I am God eyes and salsa. Yes, salsa not, Sama. I saw that Ranchan was crying cause of that little injury o' mine. It's ironic my last sight was of Ranchan crying when I vowed to make sure no one would ever make her cry. Well, at least Aizen probably got the living heck beat out of him by Strawberry Kid. Someone should make one of those TV show I've heard about named that. Dun-da-da-do when he's healthier than ice cream, redder than your bleeding nose, a being dedicated to fighting bad nutrients everywhere so you appear SDREWBERY. I need a life badly. Well, enough of my fantasies. Back to my current predicament. I looked around and I noticed something quite odd. A giant snarling fox about half the size of Aizen's ego, it's bigger than it sounds, facing me. Wait, does that thing have 9 tails? Okay, where am I? Next peculiar thing, my clothes were undamaged and I wasn't bleeding to death. Well, at least my Zanpact is still there. After accessing the situation, I turn around and see another peculiar sight. First off, there was a man looking at me with an unreadable expression somewhere between confusion, surprise, contemplation, and an I'm screwed aren't I look. Next, up was a lady with really long red hair. And for whatever reason I was getting the vibe she wasn't someone you messed with. So, Unohana would hold the whole I'm nice 24/7 death smile. Finally, a baby in the middle of a design. After clearing my head I decided I needed to say something. So am I interrupting some occult sacrifice or something, cause I never liked those all that much? The blonde man snapped out of his funk and pressed his hand together like he was praying to something and asked, "Please, Lord Shinigami, lend me your strength. The 9-tailed fox has attacked our village, and the only way to save it, unfortunately, is to seal it within my son." I looked at the man for a little bit before finally coming up with an answer. "So let me get this straight, you want to seal that," I pointed to the giant fox, "inside of your son?" My eyes seriously grew 2 times their regular size at that point. My heaven and earth, you're a horrible father. I'm going on a limb here and guessing that kid is your son. Do you want to burden having that monstrosity within himself to a little child and there aren't any other options? Why not just kill it? He stared at me completely surprised before regaining himself. "Great Lord Shinigami-sama, I did just say it was the only way, and I assure you if we could kill it then we would have already." I took the man's words to mind before coming up with a plan. "Alright, fine, I'll help you, but there's one condition." The man seemed to understand the situation and nodded. "What is it you wish for, my lord?" He bowed respectfully. "I want in. That's what I want." That man seemed confused and looked up asking me, "My lord, could you elaborate? I don't quite understand what you mean." "I want to join that village of yours. See, I'm not really a Shinigami anymore. I'm a Ribenji Shinigami, trans. Fallen death god. I'm just your average guy with special powers who wants to start over. The business of death gets really depressing." The man was very taken back by my answer and finally said, "Very well, as 4th Hokage, I hereby enact you Jin Ichimaru as a citizen of the village hidden in the leaves Kanahangakure or just Kanahana. There's usually more to it than that, like a lot of paperwork, but that's all I can do, forgive me. Welcome as a shinobi Jin Ichimaru." I looked at this and my smile grew very big. "So, it's a ninja village, eh? Well, doesn't look like I'll have to worry about it getting boring. Alright, give me a sec." I turned to face the 9-tails. "Ha! Do you really believe you can beat me, you worm? I am the strongest of all the tails beasts, nothing stand before me, not even the likes of you." I didn't respond to the thing's comment and just took a stance. Bakudo number 99 part 2 Bakin. That's when the fun started. First song, halting rap, a white fabric quickly covered the little foxy, wrapping it head to toe in it. Second song, 100 cereal bolts, a whole lot of poles fell from the sky and started impaling the dude. To be honest, I feel bad for the thing. But only a little. No! No! Don't seal me away inside that brat. I'll do anything. Anything. I just turned a blind eye to the creature's pitiful pleas for help and continued with the last part. Sarutobi was quickly moving through the trees and heading towards the location of the fox. He took a quick stop at the top of the tree and looked over to see if he could assess the situation. He could make out the figures of Minato and Kushina, but there was also another figure there. Seeing this, the first thing that came to mind was that this man was the one responsible for the attack, but decided it was best not to make that assumption no matter how likely it was. Before he could go any further though, the 9-tailed fox was suddenly wrapped in bandages. Not a single thing from tail to toe could be seen. Suddenly he saw it impaled with what looked like really large needles. What kind of a jutsu is that to be able to bind the 9-tails so strongly? What came next surprised him even more. How? You may ask. Well, a giant metal cube fell from the sky and smashed the giant fox. Is it dead? was all Sarutobi had to say to this situation. Release me, you damn Shinigami, so I may rip you to shreds. Well, that answers that question. And a couple others. The Shinigami, wait, does that mean Minato's used the Shiki Fujin? He did the only thing he could do. Go to them. I looked up at the fox box and had a serious expression on my face before turning to the man. Alright, that seal should hold for a little while, but it's nowhere near permanent, I explained to the man. At B we got maybe half an hour, but that's stretching it. By the way, I never got your name. The man nodded at me in understanding. My name is Minato Namikaze. I am the 4th Hokage and leader of Konohana, and this is my wife Kushina Uzumaki of the Uzumaki clan. The woman nodded and motioned toward the little blonde baby in the design, and this is our son Naruto. That's when the little child lets out one of the cutest noises you'll ever hear in your life. Kid looks like a living angel, I smiled and said, not really caring thought as there were a lot bigger things on my plate. Literally. So, my lord Shinigami, Minato was about to say before a bit of a tick mark showed up on my head and I very politely expressed my complaints. Please none of this Lord Shinigami business, okay? I just would like to be called Jin. I'm not really the type to enjoy being called something formal, alright? Minato and Kushina nodded and apologized, calling me Jin this time. So, Jin, what exactly is it you have planned? The redhead asked me. Well, while that seal's on that thing, I'm gonna get a seal ready to seal the thing away. I'll need your help though, so will you lend your power to me? The couple looked at each other with wary eyes before they switched to determination. Yes, you have it. Now, what exactly is it you need, Jin Ichimaru? The Hokage asked me. I smiled at this good turn. Well, what I need you two to do is after I finished explaining the plan, they nodded and started preparing while I got the forbidden Kido ready. Alright, you two, let's go. I cried in a youthful manner. Though let's just hope there's no one with a youth fetish like that in the village. Or anyone with bowl cuts. Kushina and Minato were both sent out to either side of the thing to carry out my plan. I had Minato go to the left, and Kushina to the right with some sealing equipment I had on me. To be honest, I didn't know if this would work. I mean, this was a Kido I created just to seal someone's Zanpakuto in another object to render it useless to the user. I had intended to use it on Aizen to seal Kyoka Suigetsu. But it ended being so complicated a blind person could notice. Cough, toes and cough, that and the fact 3 people were needed didn't help. I'd also need some way to keep Aizen restrained for the entire duration with no one else within the boundaries, which is pretty much impossible on a multitude of levels. Though, I always had the stuff somewhere on me hidden in case it was needed. Anyways, the procedure is as follows. 3 people make a triangular enclosement around the target. They each set up special racier stakes strung together along a string at specific intervals connecting all 3 people. After that's done, they pour their Ryatsu, or in their case the version of it called chakra. On another note, from my observations of this world, I've noticed while chakra and Riryoku are similar, they aren't the same thing. Chakra in this world is the source of power for the living and Riryoku is the source of power for the dead. As such, their makeup is completely different and act in different ways. As to how this little trick worked, we'll learn about that another time. As for what happens after, just watch. Well, after they set it up, Minato contacted me using some seal he created to communicate short distances with team members during missions. Hey Jin, I've gotten everything done on my end. Kushina then rang in to report she was all go as well. Alright, we don't have time for a crash course in Ryatsu control for you two, so just pour as much of that chakra stuff you were talking about earlier as you possibly can into the binds and say that incantation you were talking about. Now I want you both to sync your chakra release rates with my Ryatsu release rate. Kushina at once chimed in with a question. Jin, how will we be able to tell what your release rate is? I gave her the answer hurriedly. As long as you're touching the rope, you'll be able to feel it. Also, don't start the incantation till we're all in sync and parallel the speed of your speech with me. Any more questions? This time it was Minato that asked, and if this doesn't work? I don't think you need to guess, Minato. Now get ready. Just before we started, Kushina interrupted me. Jin, thank you. They weren't there to see the smile on my face completely disappear. I don't take thank yous, Kushina. They're too good for me. One last warning, if we go through with this you both may die. You really okay with that? There was a still silence before finally Minato spoke up. Yeah, we know. We were prepared to do so anyways. I nodded my head in approval of those words and got serious. Begin. It didn't take long for them to match my release rate, which I found pretty impressive. Alright, that's good. I'm gonna start the incantation in 3, 2, 1. Begin. Ugh, I didn't realize how tough this would be, and I doubted the other two were doing any better, but we had to focus on the goal at hand. The blood moon howls, roars, and sears. It calls for a blade on black knights. Oh, ye of faith and ye of death, let the bond become another place within. O blade of the dead, return now from the bled. Suddenly the stakes glowed and turned red. They transformed into 3 long skinny pointy objects on either end with a red Kido string attaching them at the top. Bakine started to break. We made it just in time. Minato, Kushina, you're not dead, are ya? It was Kushina's voice that responded first. Yeah, though I'm beat. What's next? Minato next told me. My wife's right, I'm cooked. I don't feel like I can take much more. I gathered my breath a bit before responding to them. Okay, next all you need to do is grab the spear in front of you and hurl it at Mr. Anger Management when he breaks out of the keto. It doesn't matter where, but the closer to the heart the better. Just try to hit him and leave the rest to me. Got it? Hi! They exclaimed, invigorated simultaneously. Get ready, Bakin's about to burst. The moment I grabbed mine and prepared it, the seal broke. Ray! You'll pay for that. Now! I yelled, and I saw Kushina's hit a leg, Minato hit one of the tails, and mine hit the lower chest toward the front of the beast. Grahahaha. Did you really think that a few twigs would hurt mahhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhh? The twigs had just proportionally expanded to compensate for the fox's size. WW, what is this? Well, since I'm the oh-so-generous man that I am, I felt the need to educate him on his current predicament. You are trapped in a keto I like to call Sora Seburansu, trans. Soul severance. It will sever your soul from your vessel, and it will latch onto Naruto, and will seal you away. This cannot be happening, this can't. I, the greatest of the tailed beasts, bound to a child and infant. No! Impossible! The needles did their work and injected all of their energy into the beast, causing it to let you a great roar. I just smiled pleasantly and waved bye-bye you. I will not forgive you. I'll kill you one day. Jin Ichimaru yo. You will rue the day you crossed I, the nine-tailed fox. Well, as pleasant as that sounds, I'm gonna have to pass on that offer. Maybe, next time though. Until then, later Foxy Moxie. Dai. He tried to swing at me, but his entire body was compressed into a small orb. I jumped up to the orb and grabbed it. I pinched the edge and pulled out a string and headed over to Naruto and placed the thread inside his heart. The thread then promptly disappeared and the orb morphed its shape. It transformed to a short but not too short length katana. Its guard was shaped like a cross, except the points were much wider and each were the same length. The wrappings were blood red. I stared in awe at this, completely perplexed at how this happened. Then it clicked, the nine-tailed box was transformed into Naruto's Zanpakuto. I grinned and looked down at the kid. Well, aren't you a special little kid, aren't ya? Minato, Kushina. We did it, the fox has been sealed. Silence either, answered Minato. Kushina? No answer now. I was getting worried. Oh no. I quickly shunpoed away to look for them. I went left first and found Minato lying on the ground. I quickly picked him up and went to where Kushina was and picked her up, hurrying back to Naruto. Good, he's alright. Was the first thing on my mind when I got back to Naruto. I laid Kushina and Minato next to each other. I felt Kushina's pulse and... Gone, she was dead. The keto was taxing on her body. Poor girl, may she rest in peace. I quickly turned to Minato to make sure he wasn't dead. That's when his eye fluttered open. It was very clear that he would die soon and I couldn't do anything about it. He spoke very weakly, I heard. So, we did it. We won? I nodded my head. Yeah, that thing's not gonna hurt anyone anymore for a really long time, Minato. I gave him a reassuring smile. I see. He looked over to Kushina, tears forming in his face. Kushina, oh Kushina. I'm sorry. I know you wanted to see Naruto grow up. I know you wanted to be there for him through the good and bad. He was bursting into tears. I'm so sorry. I can't know how much it meant to you. I'm sorry. Minato reached out and grabbed his wife's hand. I'll love you. He turned his tearful, sorrowful face towards me. Jin, that seal took everything out of us. I know I'm going to die, so if I can impose, could you do something for me? I kneeled there silent for a moment before I spoke. Of course, what is it? Minato smiled. Be there for him. Be there for my little Naruto. Please, if you can, protect him. Don't let him deal with all of this alone. Promise me, Gin. I was taken aback by Minato's request. Who asked someone they know absolutely nothing about to protect their newborn child? Well, it didn't matter. He appeared to trust me enough to make this request, and who was I not to accept a man's final request? I nodded and told him, of course you have my word, Minato. We were interrupted by the most unsightly appearance of an old man in. Is that a samurai suit? Aren't these people supposed to be ninjas? Make up your minds, people, ugh. Minato turned his head to look at the newcomer. Sarutobi, if you don't mind, would you make Jin Ichimaru here a citizen of Konohana for me? That was the deal we struck in return for his help in sealing the Nine Tails. The man, Sarutobi, okay, I'll do it. We need to get you to a doctor now though, okay? Minato? No response. Minato? Don't bother, I told him, he's dead. Sarutobi couldn't believe it as he stared down at Minato. Before looking up at me, what happened? I let out a sigh and told what had happened, how I was a Shinigami that was about to die, how Minato summoned me, the whole process of sealing the fox away and everything else up to this moment. He then explained to me what the fox was, how it was released, and everything else. He also gave me a brief description of the whole ninja world deal. I nodded and thought to myself on what I should do and told Sarutobi, okay, here's what we should do. You'll fill out the papers to make me a citizen and shinobi of Nohana, preferably at Jonin level since that's where my skills would probably be leveled at. You'll then send me on an extended mission away from Konohana so I can learn about this world firsthand, and I'll bring the sword that has the fox sealed inside with me and keep it away from Konohana. After a few years I'll come back and start my life as a ninja of Konohana and raise Naruto from then on. Oh, and could you fill out the adoption papers for Naruto ahead of time? When I return I'll officially become his adopted parent. That sound good? Sarutobi thought this over for a bit, and had only one question: should we inform the Council of the Blade? I already knew the answer: no, we keep it between us. The less people who know about it, the less likely someone's gonna send people to get the sword from me. Sarutobi agreed, saying it was a very good plan. I want you back in less than a decade though, alright? I deal with Naruto's well-being until then. And all I'll say is, I won't reveal what seal was used to keep the information from being discovered by an enemy and exploited. I'll also keep the adoption papers a secret as well. That okay? I smiled, it's perfect. 7 years later. Kotetsu Higain and Izumo Kamizuki were standing guard at the gates of Konohana enjoying the day. Sure is peaceful, isn't it, Izumo? Kotetsu asked his best friend. Yeah, kinda makes you wish something exciting would happen, right? Kotetsu nodded in agreement with his best friend. Yeah, but not too exciting. That would be bad. Yeah, Izumo agreed. Hey look, someone's coming. You got anyone on that list of yours to show up? Kotetsu looked through the list and shook his head. Nope, no one's supposed to be arriving. The two looked at each other and drew their kunai. As the man got closer they got a better look at him. He had messy silver hair that went down to his shoulders. He had on a black kimono outlined in red with a wakizashi strapped to his waist and a katana to his back. They couldn't see most of his face as it was hidden by a straw hat. But what they could see was Creepal Husi grin on his schmuck. Sir, please identify yourself or we will subdue you by any means necessary, Izumo said. Let's start with your name and why you're here. Please take off the hat as well, Kotetsu ordered. When he did they were both shocked to see that he had on a Konohana forehead protector, and that his eyes were open only to slits. The man stopped and spoke. My name is Jin Ichimaru and I've completed an extended mission directly from the Hokage. If you must you may bring him out here to confirm my identity while one of you stays to keep an eye on me. The two looked at each other and nodded, and Izumo went off to fetch the Hokage while Kotetsu stayed. Man, this guy looks creepy. Hi, my name's Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, and more ramen. I don't like fangirls, or boys, and or mean people. I happily live alone in a little apartment of mine and get a nice allowance from the Hokage. Nobody likes me though. I'll show them. I'm gonna become Hokage and they'll all see what I'm made. Oh knock knock asterisk knock star. Who dares interrupt the monologue of the great Naruto Uzumaki? Well, whatever the reason someone wanted me, it would be rude not to answer. I know it's not a mob or an evildoer, as they wouldn't bother knocking. Well, I went over to see what was up, and to my surprise an ANBU was waiting there for me. I looked up and I told him, okay, whatever it is, didn't do it. I'm taking a break from pranking this week, alright? I couldn't tell if he had a reaction or not cause of his mask. But I was getting the vibe of him that he didn't want to be here. Naruto Uzumaki, so the dog can speak, the third Hokage has requested your presence in his office. If you refuse to come, I have authorization to drag you by the scruff of your neck. I stared at him like he was a crazy person. I mean, what would the old man want with me of all people? What's he want me for? It was a legitimate question, really. Well, he didn't seem to be taking too lightly to the situation, as his voice was clearly in an annoyed tone. I really don't know or care, so if you would please come with me, the NBU man said, not happy in the slightest. I thought over the pros and cons for agreeing pro. I go without flapping in the wind con. I go flapping in the wind anyways. Eventually I agreed to come along, and surprisingly I wasn't flapping through the wind the entire way. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi looked at me with an expecting look in his eyes. So tell me, what have you been up to these past 7 years, Jin? I chuckled and gave him a brief description of everything that I did. Well, all I really did was travel around the place looking around. Didn't really have a specific destination. I met quite a few characters. For example, one day I met a blonde healer who had some big fetish for gambling. She was traveling with someone named Shibuhai or Shinuji or something. But my least favorite was a white-haired pervert researcher with a frog obsession. Never liked perverts. His reaction was not what I was expecting. What was it? He burst out laughing like a madman. I was getting a bit nervous from this. What is it? Was it something I said? The laughing went on for about another minute or two before he stopped laughing. While still out of breath, he tried to explain what he was laughing at. Jin, it's nothing you said or did, it's just snort. The two you just described are more likely than not two of my pupils from long ago. I let that sink in for a moment before I thought of a reply to it. Oh, well, when I last saw them, the girl was doing very well. In fact, we had this really big and really complicated adventure that took 3 whole years. I actually think was your student's name Tsunade? He nodded yes, and I continued that she had a good time. Though, I haven't seen her in 2 years or so. As for the pervert, well, I cracked my knuckles and got an evil grin on my face. Let's just say I left him at the ER. Surprisingly, Sarutobi wasn't too affected by this little revelation. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Did he hate the pervert? Well, since you're here, I guess that means you're ready to begin your life as a Konohana shinobi and help raise. At that moment, an ANBU Black Ops entered the room with a boy. He was fairly short but with spiky blonde hair and wore a white shirt with orange cargo shorts. He had whisker marks on his face and very blue eyes. He looked like a mini Minato. I knew without a doubt that this was Naruto. POV switched to Sarutobi. Sarutobi looked at Naruto, then at Jin. Back and forth for a little while. You may leave, Slick, he ordered the ANBU, and closed the door. The ANBU nodded and with a high did as he was ordered. Naruto was scratching his nose for a while and after seeing the two men stare at him decided to break the awkward silence. So, what did you want to see me about, Gramps? Naruto asked the third Hokage. Sarutobi sighed and prepared for the storm. Naruto, this is Jin Ichimaru. He's adopted you. POV Jin. The kid was staring at us like he hadn't heard anything, and after a bit I at least thought that was the case. That was just before the WHATTTTTTT. I swear people on the other side of the village probably heard that. And the room's soundproof. What do you mean he's adopted me? I don't even know this dude. Who is he? Where did he come from? What gives him the right to adopt me? And why has he adopted me now? We both stared at each other for a little bit before I said something to Sarutobi. He's taken it better than I thought he would. Sarutobi was completely surprised by my statement, and could think of only one thing to say to me. Really? I nodded yep. We both turned to Naruto. Sarutobi cleared his throat before answering Naruto. His name is Jin Ichimaru. You haven't seen him because I had to send him on a long and secret mission 7 years ago. He joined Konohana several years ago. As for what gives him the right, well, that would be your father's last request. That stopped Naruto dead in his tracks. He turned towards me with golf ball eyes. Why, you knew my father? His tone was simply put complete shock. If I could, I'd have closed my eyes shut. After a bit I answered, don't get your panties in a twist, kid. I didn't know him all that well. In fact, I met him only around an hour before he died. So, I didn't know him that well. He asked me to take care of you probably cause I was the only living soul around he could ask. So it's not like we were best friends or even buddies, okay, kid? But the fact remains that just before he died he made me promise to take care of you and I never go back on my promises. Got that? Now, that's not to say I'm not looking forward to raising you. Ya hear? Naruto thought my words over for a little while before I got an answer. Alright, here's the deal, I'm gonna use a special jutsu I made up. If you can keep a straight face while I use it, I'll let you raise me. I smirked at the kid's challenge. This'll be interesting. Alright, kid, I accept your challenge, I replied with confidence. Naruto grinned very evilly. We're gonna need to work on that evil grin o' his. He can do better. Anywho, Naruto put two hand signs together and cried out, sexy jutsu. There was a big poof of smoke, and what aroused was a naked girl surrounded by mist. All I did was frown. But the third, on the other hand, went flying back in a nosebleed. The girl spoke, oh Jin. You're so handsome. I love men who never open their eyes. That's it, I couldn't hold it back anymore. Gah ha 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 ha. Kid, you're killing me? Oh, you're killing me? Wah ha ha ha. Did you really think that trick would have worked on me? Geez, I stopped laughing and caught my breath, wiping a tear from my eyes. Kid, my ex was way more sexy than that little show. Naruto just pouted and grumbled to himself. I cleared my throat and got off the floor. Well then. Looks like I passed your little test. Now, where is it you live? Naruto bowed his head down, depressed. Follow me. As we were about to leave, I turned around at the incapacitated Hokage on the floor. Shouldn't we do something about that? I asked, concerned for the old man's well-being. Naruto shook his head. Nah, he's fine. Just give him an hour or two to recuperate. I frowned slightly but headed out with Naruto. Streets of Konohana. As we were heading over to Naruto's place, I heard some very unsightly comments like, who's that with the demon? Why is he with that horrid child? And great more of them, just what we need. But what really got me was, those two should just burn away in all of hell for eternity. Needless to say, I wasn't happy about it. I turned around. I can hear all of you know. Everyone, including Naruto, were in complete shock over the statement. You know, I'm really disappointed in all of you. You're picking on a poor little kid who didn't do anything to any of you. The nine-tailed fox is sealed inside o' him. So what? If anything, you should be praising him fair that. But new you go and attack him and call him a demon. If anyone hears a demon, it's all of you single-minded fools. And from now on, if any of you want to pick on him or get a literal piece of him, you'll have to go through me, his adopted father, Jin Ichimaru. Come on, Naruto, let's get going. We left and not a single villager said anything the rest of the way. Naruto's apartment. Well, you can't really say Naruto lived in luxury. But he was better off than I thought he would be. He lived in a one-room apartment. There was a small kitchen in one corner along with a bed and a side table and another. I also saw there was a little table intended for eating and a side table next to the bed. I also took notice of the couch in the corner of the room. Sweet digs, I said. Naruto slightly smiled. Oh, thanks, Mr. Ichimaru. Now I don't want any of this Mr. Ichimaru stuff. I'm now your father, and as such you will call me daddy, father, or anything related to that. Got it? I don't want any of this formal stuff in this household. Ya hear? I then gave Naruto a genuine smile. He smiled back at me. Okay, I will. Dad. We both laughed at this. Well then. It's around supper time, so how about we go get something to eat? It's my treat. Where'd you like to go? Naruto seemed a bit taken back by that statement, but how will you pay for it? The Hokage gave me around 150,000 yen or so for anything I needed after I got back. I also have around 30,000 to 50,000 yen left over from side jobs during my mission. So I should be pretty good financially fair a bit. I told him, and if it's sleeping arrangements fair me you're worried about. Until we get an honest-to-goodness legitimate house fair us, I'll sleep on that couch over there. Naruto grinned at this. Well, if that's the case, I know just a place to go. It's a little ramen stand called Ichiraku Ramen. It's the best place to go for the nectar the gods bestowed upon man called ramen. I chuckled at this. Not because he was being ridiculous, but because he wasn't far off from the bestowed by the gods part. Fun fact, Yamamoto was the one to invent ramen. It's true. Well, I have no problem with that. Doesn't sound too expensive. I told him, agreeing. From that day onwards I made it very clear that from now on Naruto would have to pay for ramen with his own allowance. Ichiraku Ramen. Ichiraku Ramen wasn't that big of a restaurant. Only a small ramen stand with about 8 to 10 seats in it. At the counter was a fairly old man who looked to be in at least his late 50s. Naruto told me he was the owner and chef of the stand, Tuchi. Next to him was an 11 to 12-year-old girl talking to him. But I don't wanna, the girl whined. Great, just what I need, a little whiny girl. Don't get me wrong, I love kids, especially with salt. Just kidding, but I hate whiners, cough, yummy cough. If this girl's a winner, I swear. The man looked at the girl with long eyes. Now what's wrong with becoming a ninja, I am? Oh, so that's what this is about. The girl doesn't want to become a shinobi. Can't say I blame her. I mean, who wants to go around killing people off? Then again, I'm one to talk. There's nothing wrong with it, I just want to help you run the shop, daddy. Making ramen's my dream. The girl cried cheerfully, striking a pose. Eehee. Daddy? That dude looks way too old to be that girl's father. Well, apparently my disbelief was showing and Naruto whispered to me. Tuchi-san's actually Iam's grandfather, but her parents were killed when she was young and he raised her, so he's more of a father than a grandfather to her. I nodded in understanding. Tough life. I'm not too surprised, cause this probably happens a lot to the kids in this village. Well, I couldn't ponder the thought any further as our presence was noticed. Tuchi looked over to us. Oh, Naruto. Hey. Where's Irika? And who's this? Naruto smirked. Nope, I'm not here with Irika-sensei today. Today I'm here with my new dad, Jin Ichimaru. Needless to say, the two of them were shocked. Dad. I thought your parents were dead, Naruto. Iam practically screamed in pure shock. Tuchi chuckled. I think Naruto means to say that Jin here adopted Naruto. He explained to Iam. I nodded. Yep, the adoption was made official today. I had intended to adopt him sooner, but the Hokage had to send me on a special mission just after the Nine-Tails attack on the village and was able to do it sooner. So, here we are celebrating. I held my usual smile on my face as I cheerfully explained the situation to them. Tuchi smiled and said to me, well, I'm glad to hear that. As a special celebration, Naruto. Endless free ramen today. While supplies last, and you don't scare away the other customers nor put us out of business. Well, I get the feeling I'm gonna like this man. Iam smiled at Naruto. Congrats, Naruto. You deserve it. Hey, maybe those stinking little beehole excuses for villagers will leave you alone now. She gave the boy a big smile. To which he gave an even biased smile back. I chuckled and couldn't resist the urge to tease the poor kid. Ah, my little baby boy's got a crush. And I can't believe I forgot a camera. How adorable, I smiled toothy and widely at Naruto. To which I got a howling laugh from Tucci and a shut up you perverted old man. Simultaneously from Naruto and Iam. I laughed out loud at that, ha 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 ha. See? They're even speaking angrily at the same time, Tucci. Better start planning the wedding. Tucci was clearly having breathing issues from the way he spoke, I know. Just need to see if Iam will stand still long enough to take the measurements for the dress. He was bawling on the floor crying and I soon followed suit. Or if we can get Naruto from eating all of the ramen-flavored cake. I laughed. Iam and Naruto clearly did not like this idea as both me and Tucci received blows to the gut. After a few minutes we both regained ourselves and were able to breathe again. We got up and sighed. Sorry kiddos. Got a little carried away there, I said. Tucci apologized right after me. You two better be, Iam said, me and Naruto are just friends. Right, Naruto? Naruto closed his eyes and crossed his arms before he nodded, right. I chuckled, oh well. Anywho, we better sit down, Naruto. We sat down at the counter. I ordered some plain beef ramen and Naruto ordered miso ramen with extra proc, his favorite apparently. I ate a little bit of mine and turned to Naruto, so Naruto. How's yo? What the hell? There before me were about, 5 empty ramen bowls on the table. I'm not joking. Please tell me that someone just put a few random empty bowls of ramen next to Naruto, as some kind of joke. Naruto added another empty bowl to the stack and Iam quickly gave him a new one. Naruto looked at me then my ramen, hey old man, you gonna eat that? Yes, I'm gonna eat it Naruto, I'm just trying to comprehend how you're able to eat so much ramen in such a short amount of time. Without getting sick. He shrugged and went back to eating his. I sighed and went back to mine. As I saw the pile grow I was actually relieved that it was free. Though as we were eating a couple came in and sat down as far away from us as they could and started whispering, look, it's the demon brat and his servant. Yeah, they should just die, right? I know they're nothing more than a stain on this village's good name. Okay, I heard that and apparently Naruto probably did too. I leaned next to him and whispered, hey, Naruto, watch this. It'll shut him up real fast. Naruto beamed at this thought. I noticed Tucci was rolling up his sleeves and Iam was getting really peeved at them. I held my hands up to tell them to stop and whispered, I'll deal with this. The two looked at each other for a moment and nodded to me. I reached to my side and pulled out my Zanpakuto before discreetly pointing it at them. Shoot to kill, Shinso the blade extended and barely missed them by about a hair. They were shocked and in complete terror over that and looked to see where the blade was coming from. Once they saw I retracted it and spoke, we can hear you, you know. If you don't have anything nice to say about someone, don't say it at all. Especially near them or next. Or else, I smirked, I won't miss next time. They hightailed it out of there just after that. I sheathed my Zanpakuto and smiled. Hopefully that will shut them up. Right, Naruto? I looked over at Naruto and got a bit worried. He was staring at me all wide-eyed and I was afraid I'd scared the poor kid. As luck would have it, that wasn't the case. That was awesome, Dad. Can you teach me how to do that? Huh, can you? Can you? He beamed out with pure enthusiasm. I gave a huge sigh of relief and answered him. Sorry, Naruto, but my blade Shinso can only be used by me. See, me and Shinso, we're one and the same. My soul's connected to his and vice versa. So only I can do that. I explained to Naruto. Needless to say, he wasn't happy. He crossed his arms and mumbled to himself. Tucci looked at me curiously. You speak as if that sword has a mind of its own. He rubbed his chin thinking. I answered, not just a mind but an entire soul. In all but structure, Shinso's a living being just like you and me. He's what's called a Zanpakuto. Tucci seemed very interested in this. Interesting, and how one might gain a Zanpakuto? You're given an Asachi when you first enter a special school called the Shino Academy. The Asachi is kept with you at all times. You sleep with it, eat with it, take it shopping with you, etc. Eventually your soul becomes imprinted on it, and a spirit forms from it. That's the basics. Oh, by the way, this is all hush-hush. I really shouldn't have even told you, so if you and Iam would be so kind as not to tell anyone what I told you nor go looking for the Shino Academy, partly cause you'll never find it, that would be appreciated as well. I looked at Naruto. That goes for you too, my little baby boy. Naruto got a tick mark on his face and yelled, I'm not a baby. I chuckled at this. He crossed his arms and pouted, but if you say so, Dad. I smiled. Good, now that that's over with, let's get going. I turned around and waved, see you later, Tucci. I am. Yeah, and thanks for the free ramen, Naruto yelled. You're welcome, take care! They yelled back. Teuchi grinned once they were gone. I think Naruto found the perfect father. Later. As we were heading back to the house, we ran into a small family. They consisted of a tall man with short black hair and a stern expression, a young lady with gentle features and a kind smile, a boy with 2 creases going down his face, and a young boy with black hair like the rest with a mightier-than-thou vibe to him. They stopped and the man spoke. Oh, why hello there, I haven't seen you before. My name is Fugaku Uchiha, this is my wife Mikoto, and my sons Itachi, Jin, the tall one, and Sasuke, Jin, the midget. I smiled. Hello, I'm Jin Ichimaru. I just recently adopted this boy. I gestured to Naruto. He nodded. So you adopted him, eh? Yes, I heard his parents were killed by the 9-tailed fox attack and nobody would adopt the poor child. My wife tried to coax me into it, but my clan has a strict Uchiha-only law to it, so it wouldn't have worked. I shrugged. Well, that's too bad. Let's see, stern manner, expert liar, hint of possible favoritism in his son's cautious glance. Yep, he's a traitor. What? You don't spend 100 years around Sosuke freaking Aizen without learning a thing or two on deception. Oh well, I should just play ignorant fair now. Not that I'm complaining, of course. I'm actually kinda glad. If you did adopt Naruto, then I wouldn't have been able to. I told him. Of course, he said, I understand. The short kid, Sasuke, scowled. You mean I might have ended related to him, ugh? Fugaku sighed. Sasuke, be nice. This attitude of yours won't get you far. He didn't respond, just crossed his arms and scowled. I sighed, and no offense intended, good sir, but I looked at Sasuke and spoke sarcastically. You have a very pleasant son, if I do say so myself. He seems so selfless. He nodded. Yes, I should really work on his discipline and respect more. This will only get him into trouble down the road. He turned to his other son. Isn't that right, Itachi? The boy closed his eyes and nodded. Yes, father, but he's young. There's no need to rush. He turned to look at me. But I don't think I've ever seen you around here before. Jin, was it? I feel as if you're a recent arrival to the village. I smiled kindly. Well, I'm afraid if you want info on that, you'll need to ask the Hokage. Granted, yes, I haven't mingled that much with the villagers since I joined the village. But I've been a part of Konohana Fair several years now. Fugaku smiled. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a sparring match with you if that is acceptable. He reached out his hand. Yep, definitely planning something, and this is my chance to find out. I shook his hand. That sounds like a plan. Tomorrow would probably be best. He nodded. Yes, I was going to suggest that. Tomorrow is my day off. I nodded in agreement. We passed each other with our respective sons staring at each other. Third person POV. Fugaku stared at Jin. Jin Ichimaru dash. Jin smiles and looks at Fugaku unnoticeably from the slit in his eyes. Fugaku Uchiha. Fugaku, tomorrow I will learn just who you are. Jin, tomorrow I'll learn just what you're planning. Me and Naruto were heading back to the house. It was nighttime and there weren't that many people still on the streets, so we didn't have to worry about any bad stares that much. Naruto was being his cheery self before he looked at me and asked in a serious tone, hey, Dad? I looked at him quizzingly. What could he want? Well, only one way to find out. Ask. What is it, Naruto? You've been saying something about a fox sealed inside me all day. What's that about? Does it have something to do with why no one likes me? He asked nervously. I stopped in my tracks and looked at him. Huh? No one told him. Not even Sarutobi? I barely know the dude, true, but I mean, come on. No one ever told Naruto what was sealed inside him. I let out a deep sigh and turned to Naruto and expressed these concerns. He nodded. Yeah? No one did. I face-palmed. Seriously. I'm gonna have a serious talk with the Hokage after this. I removed my hand and shook my head disapprovingly. I told him, so no one told you, huh? Well, I guess that leaves it up to me to explain it to you. Back home where we'll have some privacy. Naruto nodded and we finished the trip. Naruto's apartment. I sat down on the couch and Naruto sat down crisscross across from me on the other side of the coffee table. We looked at each other for a few minutes. I leaned back and put my left arm across the couch. Eventually I spoke. Sigh, where to start? I asked myself, rubbing my chin. Well, fair me, at least it all began long ago with a man named Sosuke Aizen, and I told him everything. How I was a Shinigami, Aizen's plot, both my betrayals, my death, Ranchan, his dad the fourth Hokage summoning me, and the sealing of the Nine Tails into a Zanpakuto. I also explained the purpose of my mission being to keep the sword away from Konohana and to acquaint myself with the shinobi world, etc., etc. Naruto appeared to be deep in thought over this. Well, I guess that makes sense. The Nine Tails part anyhow. But seriously? You, a Shinigami? I don't find that believable. I shook my head. Believe it or not. It's your choice, I shrugged and looked at him for his answer. He got up and shook his head and arms. Now hold on a sec. I said was that it wasn't that believable. I didn't say I didn't believe you. Get your words straight, Dad. I smiled at this. Well, after hearing all that the kid still believes and likes me. I hope. After all, we've only really known each other for a day. I think we'll get along fine. Well, Naruto. Get to bed. We have a big day tomorrow. I'll sleep on the couch till we get a bigger place to stay. He nodded and went to bed. I turned off the lights and laid down on the couch. Though, that Fugaku Uchiha seems suspicious. I can help but wonder. What's he planning? Uchiha compound. Fugaku POV. I sat down and sipped from my teacup. I was alone in my clan head office and just finished some paperwork, and was taking a break. I heard a knock on the door. I looked up from my tea and said, "Come in." Itachi walked into the room. I was a bit surprised to see him. I had thought he had already gone to bed. I looked at him and said, "Itachi, sit down." He sat across my desk from me. I asked him, "So, what is it?" He looked at me seriously. "Father, why did you agree to that sparring match? We know nothing about that Jin Ichimaru character." I chuckled. "Don't you see, Itachi? I set that up specifically because we know nothing about him. He's an unknown, we know nothing of his jutsu or any other abilities he may have. You and I could both tell he was strong, but how strong is he? We need to know. Especially since our intelligence knows nothing on the man." Itachi was taken aback by this. "Wait, you mean there are no records of him?" I nodded. "Well, not in the Konohana anyways. All we could find on him was his shinobi registration and the adoption papers for Naruto. From 7 years ago. On October 12th. Itachi's eyes grew to the size of golf balls. "That's only a couple days after the Nine Tails attack on the village. What does it mean, father?" I closed my eyes and gave him the only answer I could. "I don't know, Itachi. I really don't." The next day, Training Grounds 3. Jin POV. When we woke up in the morning, I found that Fugaku had a letter delivered to us in the night telling us to go to Training Grounds 3. Needless to say, I had no idea where that was, so I had to look it up on a map. Once we got there, I noticed that Mikoto, Itachi, and Sasuke were there as well. I smiled and waved, "Hey, we're here." They all noticed me and nodded simultaneously. Did they practice that or something? I told Naruto to go wait over there by the other Uchihas while I have my fight, and don't try to kill Sasuke either, I said sternly. Naruto grumpily nodded and ran over to them. I noticed all of the Uchihas were giving Sasuke a look that said the same thing. Sasuke tried to act cool, but I could tell he could feel their gazes. I had a happy thought over this and walked towards Fugaku. We both bowed and shook hands. "I'm glad you could make it, Jin," Fugaku politely greeted me. "Of course I made it. It's not every day one gets to battle the leader of a very powerful clan," I said. We removed our hands. I asked him fair the rules. "The rules are simple really. First person to draw blood, in any quantity, wins. Also, no killing. Other than that, anything goes," he explained to me. I nodded in agreement to these rules. "That sounds fair. But who's Proctor?" I asked. "That would be my son, Itachi." Itachi stepped forward. He turned towards me and explained, "Don't worry. If he's anything, he's fair." "That's good to know," I told him. "We gonna start now?" "Of course," Fugaku said. We both took our positions. He got into a stance and activated his Sharingan. I drew Shinso and pointed it at him. I could have easily pounded him into the dirt in an instant. But that wouldn't be any fun, now would it? Itachi looked at us. "Now, I'll explain the rules for those who don't know. This is a one-on-one fight. Interference from outside is not allowed. Killing shall be treated as murder. You win when you are able to directly make your opponent draw blood. 1, 2, 3. Begin." Third person POV. Fugaku drew out his kunai and threw them at Jin. They hit Jin and he falls to the ground. WW what? I thought he would dodge, Fugaku thought. Naruto was not happy, Dad. But before anything else happened, a corpse was surprisingly missing from the coat that fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked. Itachi was trying to analyze this in his head. Was that substitution? No, it can't be. There wasn't anything else in his place. I looks like he just took off his coat and placed it in the path of the kunai. But how? And where is he? Fugaku was looking around trying to find Jin. As he was looking behind him, he heard a voice above him. Whatcha looking at, Fugaku? I'm right here. Fugaku looks up in surprise as Jin Ichimaru came down on him bringing his blade with him. Fugaku dodges and launches a fireball at Jin. Jin dodges and takes out and throws some ninja stars. Fugaku deflects them and charges at Jin. Jin flash steps and jumps onto a nearby post, still smiling. Fugaku charges at him and tries to strike with his kunai. Jin blocks with his sword and they start to clash blades. The crowd stares in awe at the seriousness of the battle. Amazed by this, Itachi wondered to himself, well, Dad, looks like you bit off more than you could chew, huh? This man appears to be extremely powerful. I'm getting the vibe off him that he's holding back in order to prolong and enjoy the battle. Or maybe for another reason? The two clash blades for a while longer. They eventually land with a bit of distance between them. Fugaku is huffing, but Jin appears to not be out of breath. Fugaku eyes Jin and says, well, I have to admit I underestimated you. I'll just have to step up my game. He takes a stance. Behold, my full power. My Manjikyu Sharingan. The pattern in his eyes changes. The Manjikyu Sharingan has a black X with a small hole in the middle of it. It has 3 black circles that go around his eye, disappearing whenever they touch the X but are visible in the space between the X's arms. Well, that could be trouble. I'll have to step up my game too. Jin gets into the stance to release his Zanpakuto. Shoot to kill, Shinso. The blade launches at Fugaku, but he easily dodges it. This surprises Jin. He was able to follow Shinso's movements and dodge it. Those eyes are something to fear, all right. Fugaku smirks and tells Jin, this is the end of the battle, Jin. Prepare to lose. He charges at Jin and uses Amaterasu. Jin dodges it barely as he fired it at point blank. Jin smiles and comments, well, that's a nasty trick you got there, Fugaku. Better be careful with that. Someone could get really hurt. Besides, last I checked, fire doesn't make you bleed. It makes you burn. Don't get carried away now. Fugaku nods, you are right, that was careless of me. But I don't know a jutsu that would work. Runs up to Jin. Jin dodges, but Fugaku gets a good look at his eyes, Tsukiyomi. The genjutsu activates. Jin stands still for a while, unmoving. Everyone waits in anticipation. Did it work? Itachi thought. After a while they heard an unexpected voice. So, what's supposed to be happening here exactly? Jin asked. Fugaku's eyes grow in awe and he quickly jumps back away from Jin. How did you escape that Tsukuyomi? It is the ultimate genjutsu. Ddo, you really have that level of chakra control. So that was a genjutsu, was it? That explains why it didn't work. Jin remarks in an understanding tone. What do you mean? Itachi asks. Jin's smile widens and answers Itachi's question. Well, why see, I ain't your average person. I'm very special cause I wasn't born with any chakra at all. Nope, zip, nada, none in me. Everyone but Naruto exclaims at this. Whaat. Fugaku shakes very fearfully at this and thinks to himself, and no chakra within him? Well, that explains why that Tsukuyomi didn't work. But how is such a thing even possible? And if he has no chakra, how can he do the things he can do? Jin's smile widens at the edges. You're probably wondering how it's possible for me to do everything I've done with no chakra. It's simple, just as chakra grants unimaginable strength to the living, there is a counterpart, for the soul. It's known as Ryoko or spirit energy, and unlike chakra, there ain't that small of an amount of it. See, I'm a person who has a nearly limitless supply of the stuff. If you'd like a demonstration, here you go. Jin points his finger at Fugaku and says, Bakuda number 1 Sai. Fugaku is suddenly wrapped in an invisible force, and he falls to the ground. Fugaku tries to figure out what just happened and thinks to himself, what's binding me? He tries struggling but is only met with severe pain. Jin shakes his head and disappointedly explains to Fugaku what just happened. What I used on you was Aikido. It's the closest thing we Ryoko users have to a jutsu. Also, it ain't a good idea to struggle unless you want to rip your soul apart. Jin brings out his Zanpakuto and bends down to Fugaku, who fearfully cries, no, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Jin slits his cheek and he bleeds from the wound. Itachi stares at this and meekly announces, winner. Jin Ichimaru. Naruto jumps up and down crazily and cries out, alright. Way to go, Dad. Ha! My dad's better than yours, Sasuke. Naruto sticks his tongue out at Sasuke, but he doesn't notice. The Uchihas are all just staring at Jin and realize one thing: Jin was worlds greater than their clan's strongest warrior, and that was a problem. Jin POV. I removed the Kido from Fugaku and gave him my hand, which he half-mindedly took. Once he got up, he brushed himself off and regained his composure. Well, I must say it has been a long time since I have ever felt pure fear. I congratulate you on your win, Mr. Ichimaru. I just smiled and casually told him, please, just call me Jin. I held my hand out and he shook it. I then leaned in and whispered into his ear, you and me are very much alike, you know. We both have betrayed something very great and very powerful. Just a bit of advice. If you're gonna betray the Leaf Village, do it when I'm not around. With that I left him standing there and went and got Naruto. Naruto was beaming, yeah. You were awesome, Dad. Woohoo. Teach me that keto stuff. Will ya? I smiled and patted him on his head, maybe one day, my little baby boy. Though, I'm not sure how good a teacher I would be. I'm a master at all of the bindings, shields, and seals. But I ain't as good at all the attacking stuff. I'm average at best. Well, I think you more than make up for that, Jin, a new voice said behind me. I was startled and turned around to find Sarutobi standing behind me. Lord Hokage, when did you arrive? Mikoto asked, surprised. Sarutobi turned toward her and smiled warmly. I've been here the entire fight. He then spoke directly to me, Jin, we have a problem. It appears that the council isn't happy about you adopting Naruto. Me and Sarutobi were in a bit of a hurry and were quite distressed over that little bit of news. I couldn't figure it out. Why on the earth would the civilian council even care about whether or not I adopt Naruto? What do they have against the kid? I mean, what did he ever do to Thu? I turned to Sarutobi and asked, does this have anything to do with the Ninetales? He nodded grimly, unfortunately, yes. The council and many in the village blame Naruto for the attack since he has the Ninetales sealed inside of him. I was shocked, even though they know he's the son of the fourth Hokage? Well, about that, Jin, Sarutobi said nervously. I came to an abrupt stop and looked at him. You did tell the villagers, right, Sarutobi? He nervously rubbed the back of his head nervously. Well, cough about that, Jin. I may or may not have not only not told anyone but also made any mention of the nine-tailed fox's attack sort of illegal. There was a long pause. So long that the regular passers-by stopped to see what the conversation was all about. 1 second. 2. 3 second. Oh my god, you're an idiot, Sarutobi. Council chambers. The two respective councils were at each other's throats when me and a very bruised Sarutobi walked in. The Shinobi Council was yelling at the Civilian Council fair treating Naruto so poorly. The Civilian Council was yelling some half-baked excuse saying Naruto was merely a monster that had fooled him. The Hokage's advisors were trying to get people to shut up, and a guy who had his eye covered looked over at us and spoke, my Sarutobi. What happened? At the mention of the Hokage, everyone's head turned. Sarutobi narrowed his eyes, asked that again, Danzo, and I assure you it won't end pretty. The man, Danzo, chuckled at this but remained silent. Sarutobi sat down at the end of the table and the meeting began. Ahem, we're here today to discuss the adoption of Naruto Uzumaki, Sarutobi announced. As is procedure, the Civilian Council will begin. Hamura, a fairly elderly man around Sarutobi's age, stood up on the side of the table that held the Civilian Council. We of the Civilian Council do not believe it is wise for the Ahem Jichuriki of the nine-tailed fox to be given a guardian. Our reasoning is very sound, in which we do not wish for someone to either train the beast to serve them and abide by their wishes, allowing them to do who knows what to the Leaf Village, nor do we wish for someone to at best be seriously injured, of worse if they anger it. So as you see, we cannot allow the fox guardianship. Sarutobi grimly nodded at this before turning his head to the other side of the table. Shikaku, if you would, you may speak. A man with black hair tied into a spiky ponytail got up and nodded to Sarutobi. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Most of the Shinobi Council, he turned to Danzo glaring, who just shrugged it off, believes that it would be good for Naruto to have a guardian. He is no exception to being allowed someone to adopt him. He is just a boy who needs a parent like any other orphan out there in the world. There is no reason he shouldn't be allowed one. The Civilian Council is just trying to punish him for something that isn't even his fault. He didn't choose to become the Jichuriki for the Ninetales. And he sure as hell wasn't the one who attacked the village that night either. A member of the Civilian Council got up and slammed her hands on the table. How dare you? We are only concerned with the safety of the village, just like you. Can you not see the dangers of him having a guardian? It's too risky. It is your duty to the village to see that this will only cause more harm than good. You. The leader of the Akimichi clan, Choza, forcefully stood up, knocking his chair to the ground, and started yelling, Bull! You're all just single-minded fools discriminating against an innocent boy. You make me sick. A male Civilian Council member got up and started to yell in rejection. This argument went on for a little bit before I raised my hand. Hey, still arguing? Hello, can I talk? More arguing. I let out a sigh and said, "Don't I get a say in this?" Everyone, finally, shut up and turned to me. Sarutobi nodded in my direction and went, "Go on, Jin. The floor is yours." I nodded, "Thank you, Sarutobi." I straightened up my back and began talking. "Okay, there seems to be some concerns here, so I'll help clear everything up. First, you council members are wrong on several accounts. First, Naruto is anything but dangerous to the village. I am pleased to say that his seal is stronger than ever and won't break just cause he throw a temper tantrum. Second, I ain't gonna train Naruto to level the village or anything. Third, I am perfectly capable of dealing with anything that might be thrown at me. Even something like the Nine Tails." A civilian council member spoke up, "You don't know that. How on earth would you know if the seal is working or not? You didn't put it there." Another member got up thinking that they were on the winning side of this argument, "Correct. Also, it is very arrogant and disrespectful to believe that you are perfectly capable of defeating the Nine Tails in battle. Do you know how many very skilled shinobi have fallen before that creature? You disrespecting their memory by making such claims." Another member got up, then answered her, and eventually the entire civilian council was yelling at me with such stupid claims. I was getting pissed at these buffoons. So I decided to let my Ryatsu loose. All of it. The moment everyone in the room felt it, they were all on the floor and couldn't breathe. Not even Sarutobi could breathe. But I was focusing a large chunk of it on the civilian council who were all suffocating and in immense pain. I drew my Zanpakuto and released it, "Shoot to kill, Shinso." The blade extended and I pointed it a breath away from the first council member to Speak's neck. I had calmed down my Ryatsu and everyone's attention was either on me or the man who would end up with a punctured neck if he tried to breathe. I was still having my smile on and calmly spoke, "Actually, I do know the seal if fine because I invented it and applied it to the fox along with the fourth and his wife. Unfortunately, the seal ended up consuming all of their chakra and I've lived with that burden since." All of the civilian council just squeaked and nodded. Though one was still arrogant enough to speak up, "But you still aren't strong enough to face the beast when it does get loose and turn on you." Suddenly we heard a voice from the doorway. "Actually, I have seen him in battle and I do believe he is perfectly capable of dealing with the Nine Tails." We all turned to see who had spoken and behold, it was none other than Fugaku Uchiha. Sarutobi was the first to say something. Well, I didn't expect to see you here after your little ahem spar with Jin, Fugaku." "Well, Lord Hokage, after my mind was cleared I decided I should make my way to the meeting which no one cared to inform me of," Fugaku said, sending a menacing glare towards Danzo. Sarupa nodded and spoke, "And besides, it wouldn't look good if Konohana's council rejected an adoption it had already approved." The councilwoman Koharu Yuritane was the one who asked the particular question on everyone's minds. "Wait, what?" Sarutobi decided to explain in more detail and smirked a little evilly. "Well, this adoption report was among all of the other adoption requests after the Nine Tails attack. I believe it was one of the last filed, so it was on the bottom of the stack." The entire council's eyes grew wide at this little revelation and realized what he did. They were probably so tired after all the other paperwork, and just approved it absent-mindedly, not realizing what it was a skin. So in other words, they already said yes 7 years ago. Clever Sarutobi, clever indeed. Needless to say, at this point the entire shinobi clan heads, Fugaku and the leader of the Hyuga as well, were all Logan, minus Danzo who just sat there. Shikaku and Choza even fell on the floor. Meanwhile, the entire citizen council were banging their heads on the table, or something of that sort, and I smiled triumphantly leaving. As I was walking through the hallway very happy with myself, someone spoke behind me. "That was very impressive, Ichimaru-san. Tell me, was that ability with your blade a Kekkai Genkai, or something else?" I turned around and saw the owner of the voice was none other than Danzo. I frowned. "What's it to you?" Danzo smiled and bowed respectfully. "My name is Danzo Shimura. I am one of the Hokage's personal advisors and am also leader of the ANBU division route." I cut him off right there. "Let me stop you right there. No, I do not wish to join your ninja squad for the certifiably insane, good sir. Also, you cannot scare me with the 2 ninja with the explosives above us, the ones hiding in the suits of armor, nor the ones in the hidden chamber beneath our feet. No, your men aren't horrible at hiding, I'm just too good at finding. Have a nice day." I nodded my head and went along my merry way, very pleased with myself. The last thing I heard as I left the building was, "Stop smirking, Sarutobi." Naruto and Jin's apartment. When I got back, I saw that Naruto had a lot of supplies, fair something neatly spread across the floor of the apartment, and was thinking out loud, "No, that wouldn't be good for this one. If I'm gonna pull this off, I'm gonna need something more heavy duty." Aha! He held up a spray can. "Yes, if I mix this with sticky string and hairspray, then I'll have enough to at least cover all the doors on my floor. Ha ha! I'll show those instructors who's boss. Believe it!" He got up to do a jig or something but quickly stopped as he had just saw I had come in. He quickly held the can behind him and nervously asked, hi Dad, what's going on? How did the meeting go? I just crossed my arms and gave him a stern expression. Then I walked towards him slowly, ever so very slowly. As I approached, the sweat on Naruto was coming off and it looked like he was just in the rain. I kept walking until I was just in front of him and was staring down at him. Naruto, would you kindly show me what is behind your back, Naruto slouched and showed me the can. It was apparently a chakra-infused can of quick dry cement. I shook my head. Naruto, I am very disappointed in you. Everyone knows Kashitsu brand is the best for this kind of mixture. I let out a deep sigh and looked at him disappointedly. I mean seriously, who taught this kid how to prank? Looks like I'm gonna need to be in charge of his prank in 101 from now on. Naruto just stared at me blankly. Wait, huh? You're not mad or anything? At all? I sighed. I'll have to get the Kashitsu tomorrow. Well, pack this up and get to bed, Naruto. Oh, by the way, you are not sealing the academy's doors with that mixture. We're sealing the entire civilian council's front, back, and side doors and any windows they have on the ground floor. I'll go get their addresses now, but I want you in bed by the time I get back. Naruto nodded and started cleaning up as I headed out. Nara residence. Third-person Shikaku POV. Shikaku got home tired and angry at the civilian council. He never liked them. The lot of them. All that at least most of them said was for the good of Konohana was nothing more than bull. As he got home, his wife, who was washing dishes, greeted him. So what stupid things did the council do this time? She asked, not looking up from the dishes. He sat down and put his hands on his face. Well, many things. And all of them were a drag. I couldn't agree more, a new voice said, coming from the direction of the window. Shikaku and his wife turned to see none other than Jin Ichimaru. Sweet merciful Kami! Shikaku cried as he fell over and hit the floor. What the hell, Jin? Jin just smiled and acted as if nothing had happened. Glad to see you again so soon too, Shikaku. In fact, I need your help with something. Shikaku just rubbed his head and looked up. And what would that be, Jin? Jin smiled like an idiot. It kinda got on Shikaku's nerves, and answered him, I need the addresses for all of the civilian council members. You see, in a couple days me and Naruto are gonna prank him, hard. Shikaku just replied with an alright sure, and Jin left telling him the location to leave the info. He just smiled. Shikaku didn't know what they had planned, but whatever it was, he was going to enjoy it. 3 years later. Because this is madness, I yelled at Fugaku. He shook his head at me. Well, what would you have me do, Jin? Let this slide as a misunderstanding? I cannot allow these crimes and discrimination against my clan to go unnoticed. Look, Jin, you've been a good friend this past 3 years and I have listened to your counsel many times over. But I'm afraid this is where I must draw the line. Fugaku sternly told me. There was a short and tense silence before he closed his eyes and continued, I'm sorry. I'm still going with the coup d'etat. I'll give orders for Naruto at least not to be harmed, okay? I gritted my teeth. This is one of the many conversations I've had with Fugaku about his rebellion, and all of them have ended with me not being able to convince him to call it off. He was stubborn and willful, I'll give him that much. But he still couldn't see that the only way this would end is with his clan being wiped out. I got up and stomped outside the room, slamming the door open to reveal a Sasuke and Itachi passing by. I looked at them still angry. Your father's an idiot. I tell them, and Itachi closes his eyes and nods. Unfortunately, I must agree with you on that, Jin-san. He says, opening his eyes. Sasuke is looking between the two of us and is probably wondering what we mean. I don't stick around to find if he was going to say something and just shrimped out of the compound. Streets of Konohana. It was marching through the streets mumbling to myself about Fugaku's stupidity when I suddenly hear a voice behind me. Well, you look like you're in a good mood today, Jin. I turn around to find that the source of the voice is Kakashi Hatake. I let out a sigh. Me and Fugaku got into a fight, again. I admitted. Kakashi sighs and jumps down from the roof he was sitting and puts up the book he was reading. He walks over and asks me with a concerned expression on what little of his face showed. I mean seriously, how does he breathe and eat in that thing? He asks me, are you sure everything's going alright? You two used to get along pretty well. What's the problem? Anything I can do? I shake my head. Unfortunately, it's just something the two of us need to sort out. I tell him. I met Kakashi not long after I had joined the village. One day I was out getting some groceries and was hopping along the rooftops to get home and had, in my haste, gotten myself knocked into Kakashi while he was reading that Ika Ika Paradise series his. Ugh, porn. Well, anyways, after that I apologized to him, and next thing I know I've made a new friend. As for Fugaku becoming the closest thing to a best friend I have in this village, well, that stems probably all my unannounced visits to the Uchiha compound and his constant persistence to beat me. Kakashi started walking off and said, Tommy, well, we have a mission later, so don't let it get to you during it, okay? Right. I called to him, waving. A little later, as Jin heads home. I was just walking by when I overheard these two women talking. Yes, I hear they found Shursui Uchiha's corpse just floating in the river. Both of his eyes gouged out, no less. Really? Oh, and he was such a nice boy too. I stopped when I heard this and turned. Shursui is dead? I asked, completely surprised by this news. The two ladies turned. Yep, some are speculating it was even his best friend, Itachi Uchiha. I quickly flash-stepped away and headed right towards the Hokage Tower. Hokage office. Sarutobi was busy fighting the ultimate foe, paperwork, when Jin Ichimaru arrived. Boom! The door opens with all the paperwork flying everywhere. I just heard about Shursui. I yelled when I made my oh-so-graceful entrance into Sarutobi's office. Sarutobi was just staring at all the paperwork that had flown all over the place. He sighed and looked at me. Yes, I heard as well. Very tragic, he said solemnly. What do you think happened? I asked him. I don't know, Sarutobi said. I clenched my hands. When I get my hands on whoever. Sarutobi looked at me and spoke. Listen, Jin, we can talk about this later. Right now I need to work on my paperwork. Unfortunately, the duties of a Kage don't stop because of a single murder. Go home, Jin, we'll discuss this tomorrow. I nodded my head. I didn't like the idea but knew he was right, so I headed back home. Flashback begin. I first came to know Shursui Uchiha about 2 years ago. I was looking around for a place to train where no one could get hurt when I noticed out of the corner of my eye 2 figures standing in a field. Needless to say, I was curious and checked it out. I found that it was Itachi and this other kid, and they looked like they were about to start a sparring match. Being the curious snake I am, I stuck around. As the fight went on, I was amazed they kept trading blows and it looked like either could win. The person who came on top was Itachi. Very impressive win, Itachi-san. I must say that was something to behold. That power was oh so magnificent. You did well too, Mr. Naruto look-alike, I said. They were both startled and had turned to see that I was the owner of the voice. The Spike had seemed surprised, but Itachi not in the least. Itachi said, Hello, Jin. How are you doing today? I didn't expect to find you today. The Spike kid looked at me curiously. Jin? As in the one who beat Fugaku? He asked. I nodded yes. Oh, cool. I've heard about you. My name's Shursui Uchiha. He gave me a wave. I jumped down from the tree I was standing on and walked over to Shursui, helping him up. Good to meet you, Shursui. Jin Ichimaru's my name. You did pretty well overall. But there were some points where you could have done better. If you ever need pointers, just ask. He nodded and smiled at me. Okay. After that, next thing I knew, I was pretty much his personal trainer. He ended up improving a lot, and I was pretty proud of him. Heck, it got to the point where he started calling me Jin-sensei, and I enjoyed our training sessions. Flashback end. I got home and found that Naruto was waiting for me. We were finally able to get ourselves a decent house from the savings from my missions. I had become a jonin, nope, not ANBU, for Kahana, and really enjoyed it. Well, minus all the killing, some of it. Well, it was a legitimate living in this world, who am I to complain? Hey Dad. I was wondering if you'd seen Shizy lately. I wanted to show him something. Oh, I forgot to mention in that conveniently placed flashback we just had that he'd become a sort of older brother figure for Naruto. Wait, huh? What do you mean I can't break the fourth wall? I was just mentioning a flashback. Well, anywho's, where was I? Yes, well, I looked down at Naruto with a grim face. Naruto. I found out today Shursui was murdered. His eyes grew in shock and just stared at me. Wait, Shizy's dead. You're just making fun of me, right? This is just some cool prank you and Shizy made up, right? It has to be. He dropped to his knees and started to cry. I got down on my knees and hugged him. Later that night, I finally got Naruto to go to sleep, though I had to use Hakafuku to pull it off. As I laid in bed, I was wondering why he was killed and who did it. I realized then there was probably only one person who'd know. Itachi Uchiha. Guess I was taking a trip to the Uchiha compound tonight. Outside the Uchiha compound, When I got to the compound, I knew something was different but didn't know what. That's when I saw Sasuke approaching. He looked at me surprised. "Mr. Ichimaru, what are you doing here?" I looked at him and asked, "Hear about Shursui?" He nodded. "Yeah, I did. I liked him." "Well, I was wondering if Itachi knew anything," I said. Sasuke shook his head. "Some guys came by earlier today wondering the same thing, and he said he didn't." "Well, if you ask me, I think a certain corrupt official is behind it, and Itachi might not have wanted to tell them in case they were his subordinates," I explained. Sasuke pondered this a bit before speaking. "I guess that makes sense. Besides, it wouldn't hurt to check, right?" I nodded. "Right. I suddenly got a bad vibe coming from the compound. Something's wrong in there, Sasuke. Stay close." Sasuke, clearly confused, nods and gets behind me. We entered the gates to find something terrifying. The usually bustling streets of the compound were shallow, quiet. I found that somebody had decided to do some redecorating. The streets and walls were all painted with a most unsavory color of red. Blood red. The entire Uchiha clan had been killed. Sasuke screamed and ran. I followed. I was pissed. Someone was gonna die tonight. And it won't be me or Sasuke, it would be the one who did this. The one I realized was actually responsible for Shursui's death. I'm gonna make Itachi scream. Oh, make. Ichigo Kurosaki was playing chess. Against Kasuke. And he was winning. "Ha! Checkmate, old man." Urahara stared down at the board, eyes the size of baseballs. "Well, it looks like you beat me, Kurosaki-san. Somehow." Ichigo smiled and held out his hand. "Pay up." Urahara let out a sigh and took an envelope out of his pocket. "Here you go, Kurosaki-san. Just what you wanted." Urahara handed Ichigo the envelope, who quickly opened it to find a big duck half his size came out of the envelope. He didn't question how it worked since it was Urahara that gave it to him. It was actually Gappy the duck. Chappie's best friend in the Chappie to Gappy no Osoroshi Boken manga. Ichigo seemed to be inspecting the duck thoroughly. Kasuke smiled. "Don't worry. It hasn't been modified in any way, Kurosaki-san." He let out a relieved sigh. "Oh, good," he said, carrying the duck with him as he left. "Tell Yuzu and or Karen I hope they like it," Urahara yelled to Ichigo. Oh yeah, sure thing, Kasuke. See you later," Ichigo said, waving Urahara goodbye. A couple days later, Yuzu, Karen, and Isshin came in. "Oh, hello there. If it isn't my favorite customers, the Kurosakis. What can I do for you three today?" Urahara greeted them. They walked up to the counter where he was sitting. "We'd just like some hollow repellent today, Kasuke," Isshin said. I nodded and grabbed some. "That will be 700 yen for you." After he collected the money, they were about to leave when Kasuke asked, "Hey Yuzu, Karen, did you get that stuffed duck yet?" They turned to look at him curiously. "Duck? Who wants a stinkin' duck? The only creature I'd want stuffed is a dragon. A real one, that is," Karen said. Yuzu said, "Duck? Don't get me wrong, I like ducks, it's just that they aren't my thing, you know." "What's this about, Kasuke?" Isshin asked. Urahara waves his hand and says, "Don't worry about it. I must have been mistaken." They shrug it off and leave. Later that night, Kasuke was wondering if Ichigo had been intending to give the Gappy to someone else. So he made a few calls. Orheim, never heard of Gappy. Yuryu, likes ducks but didn't get one. Chad, why? Rukia, loathes Gappy with a passion. Rinji, impartial. Toshiro, nope. Yorichi, nope. Everyone he asked said no, and before you know it, there was one person left. Byakuya Kachiki. Urahara found the idea of him giving a gift to Byakuya very unlikely but decided to call anyways. Gappy the duck? I banned that monstrosity from this household ages ago. Back when I first became head of the clan. Kasuke rubbed his chin. I see. Don't hang up, Byakuya, there's something I want to check. Urahara quickly shunput over to just outside the Kurosaki residence and snuck into Ichigo's room. Huh? Who's the? Urahara whacked him on the head. Hard. He then opened up the door to the closet and locked, and behold, there was a small collection of Gappy the duck merchandise. Urahara pulled the phone up to his ear and spoke. Tell me, Byakuya, how do you like some blackmail fuel on Kurosaki? He said mischievously. Send me as many pictures as you can, Byakuya said. Then Byakuya started to laugh once he got the photos. Urahara never wanted to hear him laugh again. I was rushing through the Uchiha compound looking for Sasuke, whom I'd lost very quickly. It didn't take me long to guess where he was going, so I quickly rushed over to Fugaku's place and invited myself in through the wall. I was in a rush, okay? I quickly rushed through the house and headed straight to Fugaku and Mikoto's room to find them lying on the floor in a pool of their own blood. No! I cried, running over to them. Suddenly, I heard Fugaku coughing. I rushed over to him, turned him over, and had him in my arms. He coughed some more. Jijin. Crap. I don't know any healing. He smiled at me. What's with the solemn face, my friend? Cough, cough, you said this would happen. Cough, I was expecting you to be smirking, saying I told you so. Cough, I shook my head at him. That's not the point, Fugaku. We need to get you to a medic, I told him quickly. He shook his head at me, chuckle, oh, Jijin. We both know that there's not anything to be done. I'm gonna die soon. So do me a favor, would you? If my son ever gets any ideas about abandoning Konohana for revenge against Itachi, kick his ass and drag him back, will ya? And with that last request he went limp and died. Needless to say, I was pissed. I put Fugaku down and shunted out as fast as I could. I immediately found Sasuke lying on the ground. Sasuke! I cried and went over to him. He got up and looked at me. Jijin-san? He said weakly. I landed right next to him and ran over. Which way did Itachi go? I asked him. That way. He said weakly, pointing to his left. I nodded and told him to get out of here. He complied and he started to leave as I followed Itachi. I was flash stepping through the compound looking for Itachi. Just when I thought he got away, I spotted Itachi. Shoot to kill, Shinso. I yelled for Itachi's head, but suddenly he disappeared in a flock of crows. sh. Suddenly I heard behind me. Fire style, fireball jutsu. A large fireball was rushing towards me and I dodged, landing on a roof nearby. I started at the figure who'd released the jutsu, and standing there was Itachi Uchiha. One question, Itachi, I said, why'd you do it? Why'd you murder your clan in Shursui? I asked. He looked at me with a blank expression on his face. To test my power and bring it out, he explained. I clenched my fist. Power? That's all? Power? What kind of fool kills his kin for power? I yell out in a great and furious rage. I do not see a reason to continue this conversation. Let us just begin our battle, he said, getting in a stance. Bakudo number 30, Shitatsu Sansen. I draw a yellow triangle in the air and fire stakes from the three corners at Itachi. I hits him, sending him flying into a building. He hit the wall, and was suddenly a piece of tile appears in Itachi's place. Itachi turned out to be in the streets and jumped up at me. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, Itachi cried. Suddenly a bunch of fireballs were right in my face and launched at me. I couldn't dodge in time and was hit point blank by them. Itachi quickly jumped back to the top of the building and I had to shed my Jonin vest and use some Ryatsu to put out the residual flames on my clothes, which I would need to change after this. Suddenly the building I was on was shaking and collapsed, having caught on fire. The roof beneath my feet gave way and I fell in. I quickly grabbed the edge of the roof and jumped up. I pointed my sword at Itachi and released my Zanpakuto, sending it rushing towards him at full speed, as Ichigo and Aizen know it, and impaled his stomach, missing any vital areas, on accident of course. He grabbed the blade trying to pry it out, but I quickly lifted it and slammed him into the building with enough force to cause part of it to collapse. I retracted his blade and jumped over to inspect the wreckage. Itachi jumped out of the wreckage fairly bruised and summons a flock of crows and sends them flying at me. I put my hands to the ground. Bakudo number 21, Sekienten. A red cloud of smoke appears and it engulfs the birds and me. They fly out the other side and don't hit me. Itachi quickly looks around for me and I call out, up here. He looks up in shock as I'm coming down of him and launch my Zanpakuto at him. He quickly dodges and gets on top of a building, activating Mangekyo Sharingan. I land on the building surprised. You have a Mangekyo Sharingan? I cry out. He nodded and dead. Susanoo. Suddenly red bands appear behind him and break his fall. I land on a spire and look down on him. Itachi, wanna hear a secret? I ask him. He raised an eyebrow. Do I? He asked nervously. I nodded. Yep, it's a very special secret no one can know about. Still wanna hear it? I ask. He was shaking. You're going to tell me regardless of the answer, Jin. So let's get this over with. I smile and land on the ground with a straight line between me and Itachi, who was on guard. Yep, I say, raising my sword up. Know when I said that Shinso was the true form of my sword? He nodded and I point the sword at him. I lied. Wanna see its true form? It's longer and faster than Shinso. I get into a stance. Itachi was shaking his head vigorously. No. No. No, I don't want to see its true form. I'm fine with that. Really, Jin? I'm perfectly okay with not seeing it. Honest. I smile at him. Too late. Bankai, Kamishini no Yari. The blade quickly rushes towards Itachi as his eyes grow wide in fear. This is the end, Itachi thought. Third-person POV. Team Ro was going crazy. The village was going crazy. Everyone was going crazy. No one could understand what was going on. The Uchiha clan was dead minus Sasuke and his brother, the latter of which did the deed, and everything was just plain chaos. A young Naruto was up and on the roof of his house looking over Konohana. He had woken up with a bad feeling and went to get his dad only to find him not in bed. He went to the roof to find all the ninja were going crazy and realized his dad was probably assisting with whatever mess they had. He decided to get onto the streets and see what the commotion was about. It was pure hell. People were running around screaming, carrying kids, some rushing into nearby structures of any sort. Ninja hopping around this way and that. Some leading families that were on the street into any building that could be locked, some guarding said buildings, and some were running around doing who knows what. He even saw Medic Neen treating those who were injured during the stampede. Hey kid! He turned around to see an ANBU with messy silver hair and a mask covering his entire lower face with his forehead protector covering his left eye. It's not safe to be on the streets, come with me and I'll get you somewhere safe. Naruto nodded, going with the man. They tried many locales but no one wanted the demon brat in their shelter. The NBU was clearly not happy about this. They were jumping across the buildings looking for somewhere else that would let them Naruto stay in their shelter. When suddenly they heard an elderly voice cry out, Kakashi. They stopped and Naruto looked at the man named Kakashi, then to the source of the voice revealed to be the Hokage. Sarutobi jumped up to the roof they were on. Kakashi, we need your help in the search for Itachi. Kakashi rubbed the back of his head. Sorry, Lord Hokage. I was looking for a building for this kid to stay in, but no one will let him in just because he's the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. Kakashi explained. The Hokage nodded in understanding. Take him to the Hyuga compound then, Hayashi should understand. Sarutobi ordered him. Kakashi nodded, but just before he carried out his orders they saw a flash and a large blade rip through the Uchiha compound and the forest. Buildings collapsed like papier-mâché, debris was flung into the air, trees were uprooted, rocks seemingly floated in the air and a large crevice in the earth, and a mountain with a hole in it. Everyone who saw it felt a swell of emotions: dread, fear, awe, surprise, amazement, curiosity. Along with many reactions: crying, screaming, running, yelling, tears over all the paperweight. Were there any forms for this situation, or were they going to need to make some up? All the while one must fear if a black cat had crossed someone's path. Said black cat that had passed Itachi earlier was smirking to itself. Jin. Well, to say the destruction was awesome was an understatement. Once I retracted my blade, no sign of Itachi, not even a surprise attack. He was dead. I killed Itachi, Fugaku's son. I sighed and started walking back when Sarutobi showed up. Hey, Sarutobi, I said, waving, I killed the person, Itachi, who committed the massacre. Sorry about all the property damage, my anger got ahead of me. Well, see ya, I'm gonna go get Naruto. I shunput away, leaving a wide-eyed Sarutobi staring at the carnage up close and personal. 2 days later at the Uchiha funeral. It was a solemn day. Sasuke was standing before a large grave site containing all the clan members' corpses that weren't destroyed by Jin's attack. He was kneeling before his parents' grave, crying, wishing for them to come back. I walked over to him and put my hand on his shoulder. Sok. Get away from me, you monster! Sasuke cried out, you destroyed my home and the bodies of my people who deserved to be buried. I hate you! Sasuke's tears were pouring down his face like the rain, and everyone else just stood there not knowing what to say. I frowned very deeply, took my hand off Sasuke, and walked away. You're right, you know. You have every reason to hate me for that. I'm sorry, Sasuke. In my rage I acted without thinking. Hate me, I won't stop you. Sasuke, still leaning on the grave, spoke up. I'll surpass you. One day I'll surpass you and kill you. Wait for me. I'll get strong enough to defeat you, and when I do, I'll kill you. Suddenly a mysterious voice spoke up. Oh, really, Sasuke? You'll have to kill me first. The whole crowd, including me and Sasuke, turned to see Itachi Uchiha standing in a tree. I'm still alive, Jin-san. With that he disappeared in a flock of crows. Sasuke yelled out that he would kill Itachi and stormed off. I was left standing there in awe, wondering how he didn't die. Hokage's office later that day. You want me to do what now? Sarutobi asked his advisors. Make Jin Ichimaru your successor as Hokage, Koharu said. Sarutobi shook his head. I'm sorry, but why? It's simple, really. During multiple missions he's shown to be a very capable leader. He has a cunning and strategic mind, and he has the power to back it all up. Hell, dare I say it, he could easily give the first and fourth together a run for their money. Hamura explained. Of course, we're not saying you should immediately give up the mantle of Hokage, Sarutobi, but to declare Jin as your successor for when you retire and or pass away. Danzo explained. Now hold on here, I'm the one who chooses the successor. My advisors have no say in the process unless I've died without declaring an heir. And last I checked I'm still very much alive and kicking, Sarutobi gruffly stated. Yes, we know, we're just suggesting you consider Jin, as Hamura began. Consider me as what? Hamura? I said, walking into the room. The advisors turned around surprised to see me. Kohara turned to Sarutobi and said, add Master of Stealth to that list. Sarutobi, what's going on? I asked. My advisors want me to make you my successor as Hokage, Jin, Sarutobi explained. I couldn't help but chuckle a bit. Listen, it's not like I'm not flattered, but I'm not interested in being Hokage. Sorry, I explained. The advisors grumbled and left as I began to speak with Sarutobi about Itachi. A short distance from the Hyuga compound, Hinata Hyuga was walking back to her home when she suddenly heard a meow. She turned around to find a black cat walking up to her. She kneeled down and looked at it. Hello there, nice to meet you, my name is Hinata Hyuga, Hinata said as she reached out her palm. To her surprise, the cat took it, and Hinata's hands closed around it, and she shook its hand. She smiled and petted it. The cat meowed and turned on its back. As it turns out, it was a she. Hinata smiled and scratched its underbelly. The cat purred in enjoyment. After a few minutes, Hinata left waving bye to the cat and headed home before her father started to worry. The next day, Hinata woke up to a surprise. The cat had followed her home. Of course, it was 6 in the morning when she woke up, so her vision was blurry, and being the 9-year-old she was, thought there was a black blob on her bed that had come to eat her face off or something. She let out a small scream and fell off the bed. In a matter of seconds, Hyugas were storming the place looking for the intruder. They saw the cat and attacked in the heat of the moment. When Hayashi came in, he found a room full of unconscious Hyuga guards and a cat rubbing its head against Hinata, who was staring at it blankly. She pointed down to the cat and looked at her father. Daddy, can I keep it? I think it will make a wonderful bodyguard, Hinata said. Hayashi just nodded blankly. Fine. But you're taking care of it. Also, what's its name? He told his daughter. She smiled. Her name's Kuro. 4 years later, last major time skip until part 2. Oh dear, Naruto's done it this time. Painting the Hokage faces. Of all the ridiculous, idiotic, outrageous things he could have done. And he didn't even invite me. He's a horrible son. I should really scold him for that. Naruto, I cry, looking down of his current cleaning project. He looked up at me. Dad, get me out of here, he pleaded. I just shook my head at the unreasonable demand. No, Naruto. You must accept responsibility for your actions. Do you know what that is? I ask him with my arms on my waist. He scratches his head for a bit. Defacing the Hokage monument? He guessed. Nope, it was not inviting me to the party, I tell him. Suddenly an empty bucket hit me in the head. I looked to see who threw it, and to my surprise it was Irika, Naruto's sensei and unofficial surrogate older brother. Jin, don't encourage him, Irika yelled at me. It's because of your flamboyant parenting towards Naruto that he always get in trouble. Be a better father. And don't condone his actions. Come on, Irika, I'm not that bad of a father. I'm just unique in my parenting style. Besides, I'm not condoning it. Not since he didn't invite me. Boom! Another cat to the face. Where is he getting these things? You're cleaning up too, Irika yelled at me. But I didn't even do anything, I retort. You. Brush. Rope. Face, Irika said. Okay, that sounded very wrong, Irika. I didn't know you had a thing for me. Sorry, but I kicked to the freaking goring. Even one such as myself must be brought to their knees by such a blow. Start cleaning the Hokage faces now. You pervert, he told me sternly. Very well, dear, I tell him. Ichimaru, the Irika yells. Ichiraku ramen. After the incident at the Hokage monument, we all decided to get ramen. Naruto paying for his, of course. I chuckled a bit. Irika looked at me curiously. What is it, Jin? He asks. Oh, nothing. It's just that Ichimaru up on the monument brought back some memories, I explained. What kind of memories? Tucci curiously asks. Remember when I told you guys that I used to work in another military organization? I asked them. Everyone nods. Well, in that organization there was once a division leader who had a lazy second in command. Whenever she had paperwork to do, she'd hide it and take a nap. He'd end up finding it and would yell out her last name, Matsumoto, in a similar fashion to the way Irika did. I explain. Irika nods his head and says, well, I would like to meet this division leader. He sounds like a reasonable man. Snort man? The dude's like what? 12? 14? Something like that. Well, that's not entirely honest, but it's close enough to the truth. 14. Irika yells, who lets 14-year-olds lead armies? To be fair, he's a prodigy, I say calmly. Still, he yelled, how long was he in the military anyways? I don't know. Also, to be fair, we accept 12-year-olds onto the military, I said. Irika was silent after that. 1 week later. Today was the day the genin exams were held at the Shinobi Academy. I was home late that night cause I had just finished a mission. But when I got home I had placed the supplies I had brought on the mission down by the door. Naruto. How'd the exams go? HM? Naruto. I quickly searched the house and he wasn't there. Now, I was getting worried. Naruto. Naruto. Where the hell was he? Suddenly I heard the door get broken down. Come on out, you demon brat. I heard someone yell. Asahi. Watch your mouth. And why the hell did you break down the door? It was clearly unlocked, the all too familiar voice of Hiruzen Sarutobi said. I quickly rushed downstairs. Sarutobi, what the hell happened with Naruto? I ask. He looks at me. He's stolen the scroll of seals from my residence, Jin. We're currently looking for him and the scroll. I didn't bother replying to him, I just grabbed my Jonin vest and rushed out the door. Not before leaving a little note on Asahi telling him he'd pay for the new door, of course. I ran through the village, shampooing everywhere I could think of. Ichiraku, nope. Academy, zit. Training grounds, not here either. He's probably hiding somewhere in the forest. Naruto POV. Currently I was staring at Mizuki. I mean seriously, the dude duped me. Not cool. Believe it. Well, anyways, he had just really hurt Irika-sensei. And I was not happy about that. Tell me, Naruto, do you know why you are so despised by the people of this village? He asks me mockingly. Well, it's probably because of the psycho demon fox that was sealed inside me when I was born, I reply casually. Mizuki just stared at me blankly. Wait, so you already knew? I nod yes. At this point Irika just bursts out laughing. Ha 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 ha, joke's on you, Mizuki. He stares at Irika-sensei now. Wait, you know that he knows? Am I out of some loop here? I nod my head, yep. Now then, I make the hand sign from the scroll, multi-shadow clone jutsu. Jin POV. I was rushing through the woods looking for Naruto when, I quickly rushed towards the source of the noise cause where there's mayhem there's Naruto. And to my surprise on the ground was a bloody pulp of a Mizuki and 100 and something to many Narutos. Sweet merciful Kami. Is this some kind of divine prank? Well, apparently not, as they all disappeared and Naruto had a touching scene with Irika. I decided not to interrupt. After a bit I decided to jump down. Okay, so does anybody mind telling me what the heck this is, or will I need to make some kind of a fan fiction? I hear there's a wonderful spider web for those things. I announce. Dad. Naruto, running over to me, and by extension Mizuki, cried out, hugging me before showing me his forehead protector. See, I'm a genin now. I nodded. Yes, and I'm very proud of you, Naruto, but still, what happened here? And I got the full story with that mess, Mizuki. I walk over to him. Well, how should I deal with you? I say. He looks at me. Please, just not my face. I smile evilly. Oh, don't worry, I'm not gonna aim for the face. I'm just going to make sure you can never have kids, I say, pulling out my Zanpakuto, shoot to kill, Shinso. Next day, okay, this thing's filled with time skips, isn't it? Naruto POV. Today, we're getting out Jonin senseis. I'm excited. Namely because my dad's gonna be one of the senseis. Oh, but it's not like I'm expecting him to be MY sensei. The academy has a strict policy of having kids and parents in different teams. Adoptive or not. I'm just wondering who his team will be. Ahem, class. Settle down, settle down. I'm ready to announce the teams. I'll just leave out the first 6 and move on to the important part. And Team 7 will be Sakura Haruno, Naruto Ichimaru, he said. What? Sakura exclaimed. Yeah! I yell. And Sasuke Uchiha, Iruka-sensei finished. What? Sasuke yelled. Just my luck. Getting stuck with the person who hates my dad the most in the world. Listen, I don't have any beef against the dude, I feel sorry for the dude, really. I even get why he's mad at my dad. When he unleashed his Bankai, a lot of Uchiha corpses were destroyed and couldn't be recognized and buried properly. But I just hope he can get past that and learn to work together with the rest of me. Or else it won't be much of a team, will it? Moving on, Iruka said, ignoring Sasuke, your sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Now Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inazaka, and Shino Aburame. Your sensei will be Jin Ichimaru. I swear Hinata's face became a new shade of red at the mention of dad. Why? I don't know. Jin POV, I know I'm switching POV a lot in this chapter last time. Well, when it was time to pick up my new students, everyone was swarming around the place. I was afraid I wouldn't find them. Are you Ichimaru sensei? I turn around to see a Hyuga girl. Oh yeah? Hinata, right? I respond. She nods her head. Could you help me find the other 2 of our team? Well, one of us is right behind you. A voice behind me says. I got startled a bit. Whoa, didn't see their glasses, Shino, right? Well, all we need to do is find Kiba and get going. Where is he? I say. Suddenly a roar goes out through the room. Which one of you is my sensei? I'll beat your face in. A boy in some kind of hoodie blasts out. It's him, Hinata and Shino say simultaneously. Oh, I know I'm gonna just love this kid. Hey kid! I say to get his attention. Are you Jin Ichimaru? He says threateningly. I nod yes. I'll beat your ass in, he says, charging at me. I just catch the punch. You're a few centuries short there, kiddo, now, come along. I say, placing a bakudo on him and dragging him out of the room. Follow me, I told my new team as we walked to our little talking place. It was a nice little alleyway that nobody would bother you in. I leaned up against the wall and put a foot up against it and turned to look at my team. Okay, then let's introduce ourselves, I'll start. My name is Jin Ichimaru. I like my son, Naruto, pranks, and really almost any form of mayhem. My dislikes are those who threaten those I love and psycho butterfly men who want to be God. Don't ask. Lastly, my dreams for the future are to properly raise my son and to get the council to stop hashing at me to become Hokage. I gets really annoying. Okay, it's your guys' turns. Just give me your names, dreams, likes, and dislikes. Go. My name's Kiba Inazuka, he said proudly. My likes are dogs and training with Akamaru. My dislikes are weakness. And I'm gonna be Hokage. I smirked slightly. His peppy attitude was quite amusing. Well, we'll see if you make good on that. Your next, sunglasses? My name is Shino Aburame. My likes are raising insects. I dislike insecticide. And I dream of discovering a new breed of bug, he explained. I nod at this and turn my head to the girl. Last one, I say. And my name is Hinata Hyuga. I dislike the way my family is run and dream to see change it as well as become a strong kunoichi. I like, she stares at me nervously and I tilt my head in confusion. Well, what do you like? I ask. Who is she, faints, and I quickly get out of my relaxed position. Does she normally do this? I cry out in a state of shock. Kiba and Shino quickly turn to Hinata as well. She's usually nervous, but never faints. Kiba practically yells out. I think I might know why she fainted, Shino said. I look at him quizzingly. Oh, why? He looks at me and blandly replies, she has a crush on Naruto. I nod in understanding and look back at Hinata. So any idea on how to wake her up? I ask. Leave it to me, a new voice says. I look up to see a black cat that talks. I'm getting serious déjà vu at the moment and don't know why. Well, anyways, the cat leaps down to Hinata and whispers something in her ear. She practically jumps to her feet. Where? Where? She says, looking around frantically. The cat chuckles. Relax, Hinata. I just said that to get you to wake up, the cat told her. She looks down to her feet and blushes in embarrassment. Oh, sorry. Wait, you can talk, Kuro. The cat Kuro nodded. Why, yes I can. Why? Did I never tell you? Oops, my bad, Kuro told them. At that point Shino, Kiba, Hinata, and Akamaru fainted. Me and Kuro just looked at this and sighed. I bent down to make sure that they were all right. Jin? A new voice suddenly asks. I turn my head and see Hayashi at the other end of the alleyway. Why is my daughter sprawled on the ground unconscious? He raises his eyebrows at the sight, clearly not knowing what to think. Hayashi, are you aware Hinata's cat can talk? I ask him. He sighs. Considering half the things I've seen that cat do, I wouldn't be howg surprised if it turned out to be a dark-skinned, naked woman with purple hair in disguise. Kuro raises her eyes. My Ichishi. You haven't been watching me take my showers, have you? Who would have guessed that the leader of the Hyuga clan is a little pervert? Hayashi starts to panic at this remark and waves his hands in front of him, and was blushing like a madman. I am not a pervert. Why, you don't know what you're talking about, he said, defending himself. Kuro just smirks at this. Let's put that theory to the test then, shall we? Suddenly mist started gathering around the cat, and once it cleared enough, standing at its place was a dark-skinned, naked woman with purple hair at its place. I knew I'd seen that cat before. Yorichi Shihoin, the Flash Goddess. What the living heck is she doing here? I know it's a world of ninjas, but still. Well, anyways, Hayashi didn't take it well and passed out. Just when I thought the situation couldn't get any more out of hand. Oh my god, the cat knows sexy jutsu. I look up, and to my horror are Naruto and his teammates. Oh boy. Well, we might team over to where Team 7 was holding their introduction ceremony, and I was just an observer. Let's hope Naruto can help Sasuke out. Oh, don't worry, we explained the situation to Team 7 and procured Yorichi some clothes. And by procured I mean blatantly stealing from a store, because none of us had any money on us at the time. Well, Pinky here's the only one I don't know, so let's see what she has to say. My name's Sakura Haruno. My dislikes are Naruto. My likes are Sen's glance towards Sasuke and giggles. My dreams are a ** repeat star. Oh yeah, a fangirl. Sigh, geez. Get a life. And how dare dislike the lovable ball of fluff that is Naruto. Die. Right after that we all heard a groan come from the Hyuga clan head, who looked around confused. Where am I? Last thing I remember is Hinata's cat turning into a nude woman, he said wearily. He looked around, and when his eyes fell upon Yorichi before shaking his head. If you want to return to the Hyuga compound, then you'll have to turn back into a cat, Ms. Hayashi said. Yorichi Shihoin. Of the Shihoin clan. One of the 4 noble houses of the Suriidai. Yorichi explained. Kakashi gave Yorichi a curious look before asking, Shihoin clan? Never heard of it. And is this Suriidai a ninja village? She shakes her head. Not exactly, Kakashi. If you really want to know, you'll find out someday. Everyone does when they die. Hayashi and Team 7, minus Naruto, grow wide-eyed. Dee die. Sakura screeched, what is the Suriidai? The afterlife. Both me and Yorichi nod our heads. I turn my head to Sakura and explain, the part that houses the military at least. Sasuke grunts and Kakashi eyes us mysteriously. Why would the afterlife need a military? He asks. I smile oh so innocently. You'd be surprised, I reply, at how dangerous death can get. There are things worse than any demon you can think of. Like Mayuri. Yorichi snorts at this. Naruto looks at Yorichi and asks her some tea. So are you a Shinigami? He asks her. Everyone else but me and Yorichi pretty much make a spit take. Shinigami. They all cry out simultaneously. As in a god of death? Sasuke asks, coldly narrowing his eyes. Yorichi shrugs and nods a yes. But I'm not here for anyone's soul. Some idiot just wanted to summon me to take revenge on a guy for not killing someone, and summoned me thinking I needed to balance out the cycle of souls by taking the other's life. I quickly threw that idiot off a cliff and went on my merry way. Eventually I came to Konoha, and to my surprise Jin was running around the place. I got curious and decided to stick around the place. I changed into my cat form and found myself a family to live with. Though it started out as a cover, Yorichi explains, looking over to an unconscious Hinata, I found myself getting quite attached to Hinata. I think I might stay for a while before looking for a way home. If there is one. I turn to her and get up. If you do. Mind not telling the Godai 13 that I'm here, would ya? I ask her. She winks and says she wouldn't dream of it. I smile and sit back down. She then turns to walk away, but not before turning to look at Sasuke. Now. Stop looking at my rear end, little Uchiha. I must preserve my dignity. Especially from those naughty thoughts of yours. Yorichi teases. Sasuke falls over and starts yelling. I'll have your head for that, you. You were cat. He shouts, angered at Yorichi. Right after that, Sakura starts screaming about how she fell in love with a pervert. Hayashi facepalms. Pretty sure Kakashi gets a nosebleed, and me and Naruto start bursting out laughing as Yoruichi flash steps away. Sasuke-kun, how could you lead me on like that? Sakura yells out squeamishly, you were only using me. Naruto shoots up after that. Yeah. How could you, Sasuke? Naruto says, going along with it. While Sasuke goes. Kakashi shakes his head and tuts. To think, the last honorable Uchiha would in fact be a perverted maniac. He must be desperate to revitalize his clans. He sighs and goes back to his porn. Boo, Sasuke goes. Even Hayashi shakes his head. I truly believe there was hope for the Uchiha, but now, Sai, stay away from my daughter. He sent him a menacing glare. Hold on, Sasuke tries to get out. Well, you may think I'm a monster, I begin, but you're far worse than whatever you make me out to be, Sasuke. I smile at his poor, suffering little piece of clay called a face of his. That's when he breaks. I am not a pervert. You should not take the words of a crazy woman who walks around disguised as a cat and a fangirl with questionable sanity's words as truth. He releases all of his anger at once. After a big and shocked silence at the joke gone wrong, Sakura of all people starts to laugh. Gahahahaha. Me? A fangirl? You mean you actually bought that act for all these years? Gahahaha. Wow, I'll have to tell Ino that the joke actually worked. Ha 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 ha. You truly believed I was a fangirl? I haven't been a fangirl of yours since the little hissy fit of yours during your parents' funeral. Who on earth could love someone after that? Sakura cried out, laughing her patooey off. I am loving this girl already. Now Eniai Hyuga, on the other hand, Sakura starts saying, there's someone I could fangirl over. If I really, really, really wanted to. But I don't. She crosses her arms and raises her head pridefully. Hayashi just looks at the scene and shakes his head. Jin, if you don't mind, I'll be taking my daughter home. Where would you like her to be tomorrow? He says, picking up Hinata. Tell her to meet me at training grounds 8 at 7 a.m. No breakfast. She'll probably vomit, I tell him. After nodding, he leaves with Hinata. I tell Team 7 that I'll be talking the other two home and gave their parents similar instructions. Afterwards, I headed home. Jin and Naruto's house. When I got home, Naruto was waiting for me in the kitchen. He looked over and saw me come in and waved. I went and started to get out supper ready. As I was making it, me and Naruto were talking about the day's events. Turns out, Kakashi was late. Probably reading Ika if you asked me. But I digress. Remember, Naruto. You ain't getting any breakfast tomorrow cause of the second part of the Genin exams. Alright? I tell him. He nods yes. I know, he said in a depressed voice. I smile and pat him on the back. There, Naruto. I know it sounds bad, but I have something that might cheer you up, I tell him, smiling. He beams at this. Ramen! He cries out with a large smile on his face. I shake my head no. With that, he crosses his arms and starts pateen to himself, grumbling about a rip-off. I smile at my son and walk up to my room to fetch something very special. I undid the keto seal and grab his gift and head back down to the kitchen where Naruto was cleaning up his leftovers. Naruto, I got it, I say, showing it to him. He tilts his head. A sword? He goes, disappointed. Not just any sword, I say. Then I turn around and strike a goofy pose. It's your very own Zanpakuto. He grows wide-eyed and cheers. Awesome! He cries, going over to grab it. Once he gets it, the sword suddenly glows and shrinks to a more manageable size for him. Strange, most Zanpakuto don't do that unless they're captains. Well, it ain't like it's a normal Zanpakuto. Anyways, I digress. After I explain to him how a Zanpakuto works and how to make it an actual Zanpakuto, we head off to bed. Tomorrow's gonna be an interesting day. Naruto's Adventures in Rakangai PT-1, Lost. Naruto Uzumaki was lost. He and his team had just gone on a mission to catch the demon cat Tora, and not only had the radios stopped working, he was also lost. Well, as upset as he was, he had to find a way out of the forest of at least to one of his team members. As he wandered around, he noticed that the forest had grown a lot darker. He was beginning to be creeped out by this, and resorted to calling out for his team members. They were nowhere to be found. Are you Lucy? A gentle voice behind him said. Naruto looked around to find a woman with long, black hair dressed in a black kimono of sorts with a white haori. Perhaps I can help you locate your friends, she offered. Naruto shook his head. Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna be Hokage one day, and if I can't find my friends in a forest I don't recognize, then I'll be one horrible Hokage. She continued to smile and said, "Perhaps I can locate your friends," again, but this time there was a very terrifying aura around her Naruto was scared of. He just nodded yes, and they moved along. As they walked, she asked for as vivid descriptions as he could give her of his friends. After listening, she turned to look at him. "I see. Well, if you don't mind me asking, young man, why were you so far out here?" "We were on a mission to find a cat, and I got lost and separated from my friends. I can't even get my radio to work to call them by," he explained. "Oh, by the way, we never exchanged names. What's yours?" "My name is Retsu Unohana. What is yours, child?" she replied. "My name's Naruto. Naruto Ichimaru. Son of Jin Ichimaru. Well, adoptive son anyways," he explained. The woman suddenly stopped in her tracks. He turned around and looked at her. "What's wrong, lady?" he asked. "You wouldn't happen to mean Jin Ichimaru, High Trader of the First Order, would you?" she asked, her hair suddenly coming undone. Hinata POV. The next day, Jin-sensei showed up later than the directed time. H said to be there by 7 am and showed up at noon. Kiba-kun was very unhappy by this. "The hell, Jin-sensei?" he cried. "I thought you said you'd be here by 7, not noon." He snorted and folded up his arms. "Who needs a late sensei? If they don't care to show up on time, then why should I bother training with you?" He smirked. "Well, in the shinobi world, nothing is gonna go exactly as you plan it. So, always expect the least likely circumstances. If you don't, you'll die," he explained with that casual and scary smirk on his face. I understood, and Shino probably did, but Kiba. "The hell with that, we're genin, and you're our Jonin sensei. We shouldn't have to wait on you. When I become Hokage, I'll show you," Kiba began, but before he finished, he suddenly found himself pinned to the ground by Jin sensei. I widened my eyes in shock. I'd never seen anyone move that fast before. I activated my Byakugan and my eyes widened even further. He didn't have any chakra. I decided to keep this to myself and turned off my Byakugan. Jin sensei smirked and unpinned Kiba. "If you want to be Hokage, here's some advice. Don't ever think yourself better than another. And on the way there, do not question the words of those with far more experience. Especially your sensei. Right now, many in this village consider me Kage level. Now, I have no idea if that's true since I've never fought Sarutobi, but the point is, at the moment, I know best. So shut up and listen," he said with a threatening aura around him. I even saw Shino and Abirame shiver a bit. He was truly a frightening man, and Kiba knew it at that point. He smiled and motioned for us to follow him. He then held up 2 bells and turned to us before speaking. "This is part 2 of your genin exams. Your job is simple: get the bells away from me. Oh, and only 1 bell a person. The one who doesn't get a bell won't get any lunch. With that out of the way, you have 2 hours to get them, or else you'll be sent back to the academy fair another year. Ready, start." At the start, Kiba just charged at Jin-sensei, not thinking at all. Imitation beast art, beast human clone. Suddenly his dog, Akamaru, changed to look just like Kiba. One of them charged at Jin-sensei, who merely sidestepped the attack. Then from behind, the other one suddenly grew claws and struck. He ducked and palmed him, sending him flying back a ways. The first Kiba, now behind him, made a reach for the bells, but his hand was caught and flung over his shoulder, revealing him to be Akamaru. "Grrr," the real Kiba growled. "I'll get you for that." He charged at Jin-sensei, but suddenly a swarm of bugs blocked his path. We both turned to look at Shino. Kiba glared daggers at Shino and grabbed him by his shirt. "What the hell was that about?" Kiba yelled at him, very angry. "I had him on the ropes." Shino just shook his head and swatted Kiba's hand away. "If you had, then this would have gone on the same way for the next 2 hours, he explained. "Can't you see? This isn't a test of skill, it's a test of how well we work together in a pressured situation where we must choose the best course of action together. As a team." I nodded in understanding. Kiba growled, "But there's only 2 bells." Shino sighs. "Not every situation is going to be a complete win situation," Shino explained. "Sometimes we'll have to make a big decision that results in one of us getting captured or even killed. That's the life of the shinobi. You don't like it, then go quit and get a civilian job." Shino scolded with a very serious voice. Kiba gulped and nodded. "Yeah, I guess you're right. Sorry for acting like an idiot," Kiba said, scratching the back of his head, and Akamaru barking in agreement. "So, what's the plan?" I ask. Shino turns to look at me. "I think I know," he explained. After an hour and a half of planning, Shino let down the wall of bugs and we charged out and began our attack. Kiba charged at Jin, sticking his claws out in order to stab him. Jin quickly dodged, then I snuck behind him and began my gentle fist strikes, which, too, were avoided. He jumped into the air and landed near a small post nearby. Me and Kiba then charged forward. Akamaru swiftly biting Jin-sensei's arm. He shook his arms to get Ichimaru off, and I charged up and made a reach for the bells, but he swiftly avoided that. He then started jumping around. Ichimaru fell off, making it hard for us to catch him. Eventually we ran out of breath. That all you got, kiddies? You're not going to get the bells that way, he smirked. Oh, you mean these bells, Kiba said, holding his up and me doing the same. Yeah. Jin yelled, surprised. How did you dash? It is quite simple really, Shino said, walking closer. As you were busy dealing with Hinata and Kiba, I loosened the bells with my bugs and had them drop to the ground. With all of your moving around, it was fairly easy for them to fall off. All Kiba and Hinata really needed to do is keep you moving and keep an eye out for when the bells fell. Jin-sensei smiled and started clapping. Very good, very good. I'm extremely proud of all of you for working together. But you're still not getting lunch, Shino. Instead, I'll have tie you to the log while everyone else eats, and he did just that. Now I'm gonna go off and get some Ichiraku ramen K. He suddenly disappeared in an instant, leaving a small gust of wind and 2 bento boxes in his place. Me and Kiba looked at each other and grabbed our lunches. As we were eating, I looked up at Shino guiltily. It was really unfair. He was the one who came up with the plan and loosened the bells for us. I mean, he deserved it more than the 2 of us. All we did was keep Jin-sensei moving around. Here, I said, sticking out the box. Both of my teammates looked at me surprised. Shino, I think, was thinking it over before he gave an answer. Why are you giving me your lunch, Hinata? He asked. Well, it's because you did most of the work and deserve it more than me or Kiba, and I would feel guilty if you went without lunch, I explained. Hinata! Kiba yelled out, we've already passed. If Jin-sensei finds out you did this, then we'll be sent back to the academy. I don't care, I tell him. I am a Konohanin and we don't forsake our allies. Shino looked at me and I think there were the slightest traces of a smile. Then again, you can never tell with Abirames. Thank you, Hinata, but I'm afraid I can't eat this. Why not? I asked. My hands are tied to the post, he explained. Oh, well, I'll just have to feed it to you then, I explained. Shino nodded and I did just that. Granted, it felt really awkward, but at least he was able to eat. Unfortunately, as I was doing this. And just what do you think you're doing, Hinata? Jin-sensei's sudden voice said. I got startled and dropped the box, the contents falling to the ground. Kiba was giving me an I told you so look and Shino remained expressionless. I slowly turned around to find my sensei casually eating some ramen while staring at me with those slit eyes of his. It was terrifying, creepy, and just plain weird all at the same time. Needless to say, I was scared out of my mind. I can't have Naruto-kun's dad hating me. Well, I was giving Shino some of my lunch, I began nervously. Jin-sensei slurped up some ramen. If I specifically remember correctly, I thought I told you not to feed Shino. Did I not state it clearly enough? He casually questioned, eating some more ramen from the cup. Why, you were very clear, sir. I managed to force out, but I felt guilty that Shino didn't get any ramen because he did more work than me and Kiba. Hey! Kiba yelled, but I ignored him. And it just wouldn't have been fair to Shino if he didn't get any food, since we couldn't have passed without him. I get out completely terrified at this point. Who knew someone casually eating ramen could be so scary? Now I know the general idea of why he was given the title Shinigami of Konoha. He was very terrifying. He finished slurping up the last of his ramen, crushing his cup and utting it in a pocket. Wouldn't it just get the residue all over the inside of the pocket? He looked at me for a bit before he spoke up. By the time he did, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife and or chainsaw. Well, if that's the case, I guess, he began. Here it comes, he's going to you pass, he said. We passed. I'm not complaining, but why? I thought he told us to specifically not to feed Shino. Huh. Is all I managed to get out. Jin-sensei smiled and turned to Shino. If you would so kindly explain, Shino. I know you figured it out, he said. It turned to Shino in surprise. Shino cleared his throat and explained. As I mentioned, this was a test of team cooperation, but it was not only for the first part but second as well. You see, while we worked together to gain the bells in the first part, the second part was even more to show team cooperation and true belief in our skills. It also would test if we performed within correct parameters of a high-risk situation and our devotion to the team. In other words, if you decided to feed me, it would equivocate to deciding to free a captured comrade or team member, no matter the motivation for doing so, despite the risks. I chose not to reveal this information to you two so that way you could be tested properly. Jin-sensei nodded his head. Yep, that's the basic gist of it. You know, I actually had to modify the second part of the test since you did so well on the first half. Oh, and Kiba, he said, looking at him, your punishment for not offering your food to Shino is he pulled out his blade and pointed it at him. We all stared at it, wondering what he was going to do. Kiba, the most terrified of us all. Suddenly the blade extended itself, and Kiba had to lift his foot to keep it from getting impaled. He did this again and again, getting quicker each time until it was really fast, and he said, "Dance for me, little monkey man, dance." Wahahaha. Kiba was not happy about this and begged Jin-sensei to stop. I couldn't hold it back anymore and just started to laugh. All we got from Shino was a small chuckle, but he's an Aburame, can't get any better than that, really. Eventually Jin-sensei stopped, and Kiba was catching his breath, Akamaru snickering at him. "Well, that was most entertaining," a new voice said. We turned around to find that the speaker was none other than my cat, which is supposed to be a girl. Cat genetics are confusing. "You can talk, Kuro?" I asked, not really being able to think of anything else to say. He nodded. "Are you a boy or a girl, because I really can't tell at this point?" I asked Kuro. "Girl, I just sound like this whenever I talk," she explained. Suddenly Akamaru started barking and chasing after Yorichi. The ensuing action scene was so epic and badass that words just simply cannot describe it all. I can truly asy it involved great acrobatic skill, a large chase scene, and 50 pounds of mayonnaise. Don't ask, it will be easier for the both of us. It ended with Akamaru sprawled on the ground whimpering, with Kuro standing over him triumphantly. And a very distressed and angered Kiba. Jin-sensei smiled and turned to us. "Now then, once we check Akamaru into the ER, why don't we go out to eat some ramen for lunch? Dried persimmons, anyone?" We shook our heads no. "Oh, more for me then," he said as he began eating one. Later. Jin-sensei took us to a place named Ichiraku Ramen. As we were eating, Team 7 came in. Naruto quickly noticed us. "Hey Dad! I passed the second part of the exams," he cried cheerfully. Sakura looked at him and scrunched her eyes. "You only passed because of Sasuke letting you eat the food," Sakura yelled at him. "Don't be like that, Sakura-chan," Naruto-kun whimpered. Suddenly Kuro jumped off the counter she was sitting on onto Naruto-kun's head. She then quickly resolved to curl up on his head and take a nap. Jin-sensei soon started laughing. And with that we completed our escort mission. Why were we doing an escort mission, you may ask? Well, Kiba had to open his big mouth demanding higher-ranking missions aside from menial tasks like cat hunting and street sweeping. Why'd we have to sweep that street anyways? It was a dirt road. Well, this is getting off track since Kiba decided to complain. Sarutobi gave us an escort mission. And it sure wasn't easy. We had to deal with Jonin class missing Nin from Kirigakure, corruption, villagers with no spine, and a crime lords. Gwaha! Did you really think that we actually had to go through that? What kind of C rank escalates that quickly? It's purely ridiculous. Don't you think? No, we were escorting the dude back to his home village after he was done with some business in Konoha. He was fairly well behaved, especially with Kiba's constant ranting on how boring the mission was, and he wanted to fight other ninja. Note to self, knock some common sense into him once we return. Other than Kiba being annoying, we pretty much got there without a hitch. Minus a few bandits here and there, but we sent them packing. I was sure not to kill them just simply cause of the kids. Now, once we got there and delivered the man safely to his village, I turned to my team. Alright, since you all probably haven't left Konoha in your lives, why don't we take the more scenic route? No, Kiba, it is not open for discussion, I said. Kiba crossed his arms and huffed. I smiled and we started going the long way. Don't worry, I'd been here before on several missions, so I knew the place pretty well. After about a day or two of traveling, we came up to a small village. And when I say small, I mean out in a small clearing in the forest with only a few buildings and just having one road go straight down the middle. The buildings consisted of wooden shacks and cabins. After we saw it, I turned to the others. How about we stop here tonight? I asked. Everyone quickly agreed on the prospect of being able to sleep in a proper bed. Even Yorichi, who is in cat form, nodded in agreement. So, we headed off to it. When we walked into town, the first thing we noticed was there was barely anyone there. I frowned slightly. After walking for a bit, we couldn't find anyone. A ghost town, perhaps, Shino suggested. Kiba huffed. If it is, it's better for us. Won't have to get permission or pay anything to get a bed, he said. I turned and shook my head. No, there's definitely people here. I can sense them, I said to in my head to get a good look. We're not here to hurt any of you. We just want a place to stay for the night, then we'll be gone, I announced. A few moments passed, and no one came out. Something's very wrong here, Yorichi said. Suddenly we heard the door closest to us creak open, and we turned to see a young girl around 16 to 18 step out. She had on a very scuffed-up gown that looks like it hadn't been changed in a few weeks at best. Come in, quickly. It's not safe after dark. If you don't come in now, they'll get you, she said. We looked at each other, and nodded, running inside. After we all got inside, she closed the door behind us and locked it before sliding a chair up against it. We looked around and noticed that everyone there was very well, old. Now that's not saying it was packed to the brim. There were only 7 others in there, not including us or the girl, 3 female and 4 males. The room appeared to be a restaurant of sorts with circular tables spread about. But with the weapons that lined the wall, it looked more like a rundown military outpost that only had troops who were there since 50 years ago were occupying. For the most part it was fairly quiet, with people not giving us much mind as they sipped on a broth of sorts. I saw one lady near us put her down, and it looked like they just threw what they could together from what they had left in the kitchen. I looked at this and frowned deeply. What the hell? I whispered to myself. I turned my back to see my students and Yoruichi all having similar expressions. Even Ichimaru seemed affected by the sad sight. Wait here, I'm going to go get the elder and his grandson. They're the ones in charge, the girl said, holding both her hands out so we could see her palms. I doubt it was her intention, but we could see they were pretty scratched. She then rushed over to one of the left hallway. That's when I noticed out of the corner of mine that there was a desk at the other side of the room. And in perhaps? I faced the other members of our group. Come on, let's take a seat, I said. We walked over to a table at the corner of the room where nobody was and sat down. We all turned to face each other. Get out your rations, I ordered. All of them. They nodded and took out their stuff. No one appeared to be paying us any mind since they were more focused on their food. One of 2 paid us a glance, but nothing more. I looked among what we had out. There was enough for about another week for the 5 of us. I looked at my students. You don't mind if I began, but before I could finish they all shook their heads no. Even Kiba and Ichimaru. I got up and turned towards them and raised my voice. We got some rations with us if anyone wants something a little bit better, I announced. Everyone turned to look at me before a lady stood up. Please don't give it to us, save it for the younger, still growing children. We can survive on broth and water, but they cannot. They require something of better nutrients as they are only at the beginning of our lives, she said, giving off a slight chuckle, and as you can clearly see we are all ready to keel over any second. She then sat back down. I smiled slightly and nodded. We'll do that, I told her. She smiled at me and went back to the rest of her broth. I heard a small chuckle by our table and noticed that there was an elderly man standing by it with the girl from before and another man who looked to be about as old as I was, in physical appearance not actual age, with a bit of a more defined body. How does he keep in such good shape in such poor conditions I shall to this day never know. He looked at the rations, then turned to the girl. Well, you heard the woman, Sana, he told her gently. Give those kids at least a semi-proper meal. Help her out, Tanashi. They nodded and grabbed up the rations, walking off to another part of the building. The elder sat down at the table and I joined him. So, what brings you here, travelers? He asked us. I answered, we're shinobi from Kanehigakure, the village hidden in the leaves. We were returning from an escort mission a couple days ago. We saw this place and hoped to stay in an inn or something better than dirt at least. He nodded and rubbed his chin thoughtfully, then opened his eyes and looked at me. If you are shinobi, then you should be able to help us with our little problem. Please, will you hear this old man out? He said to us, coughing a bit. I nodded yes. Good. Well, as you may have noticed, the town is very much abandoned. It wasn't always like this, though. Not any over 3 years ago this was a bustling little hamlet in which the people lived in relative peace with only minor disagreements here and there. But that all came to an end when my daughter disappeared. The whole town went into a frenzy looking for her. We said neat and high for her. Eventually a small group went searching for her in the mountains. Sana's father among them. They never came back. But a few nights after they left, the entire valley awoke to horrible screams. Coming from the mountain. Everyone recognized the voice as Sana's father. We didn't know how, but everyone just knew he was dead and died horribly. She wept for days. Not even her fiancé, Tisha, my grandson, could get her out of it. Even now she's still recovering. After that, many people tried to leave town under the cover of darkness. Some managed to escape, but others were grabbed by horrible creatures and taken to the mountain. People tried leaving in the day with the same results, he explained. But we entered the town just fine, Hinata noted, and we didn't run into any creatures. The man looked at her and pointed gun style. That right there, Missy, is plain old good luck. Trust me when I say this, you don't want to meet him. Now then, where was I? Ah, yeah? Well, eventually everyone came up with a plan. They seemed to go after the most able-bodied men and women so those would act as distractions for the creatures as the others made their escape. It had to be in small groups at a time or else the creatures would notice. Unfortunately, not everyone was up for traveling long distances for indefinite amounts of time like the really young UNS and the elderly. We told everyone that they should at least leave us old folks behind for themselves. Eventually they submitted. It ended horribly. The creatures had evolved. They had new eyes that appeared to not miss a detail. Red eyes with black rings and tomo in them. I had straightened my back. That sounded a lot like, no, it couldn't be. So, he continued, after everyone was either captured or killed, the remaining few of us have been here ever since. Just trying not to die. These creatures, what do they look like? I asked him. Oh, they're very obvious. They all look in some way different, but they all have a few common features. The first is they all have bone-white masks on, he started. Wait, bone-white masks? They also, before the upgrade, had black eyes and yellow irises. Oh, God, please don't tell me there. And finally, they all have holes right smack dab in the center of their chests. Hollows. I widened my eyes and looked at Yorichi. She visibly gulped and nodded. Still looking at her, I spoke, so, in other words, someone's been given hollows the Sharingan. Yorichi turned to the man. We'll help, she said. He looked at her wide-eyed. Probably because she talked, not the fact she agreed to help. That's what they wanted, wasn't it? I got up. We can discuss more in the morning. Right now we all need sleep, I said, standing up. The man nodded. Everyone in the room had apparently heard this and started to cheer. We even saw Sana and Tichi doing it, chair and not the other thing, in the doorway. Sana walked up to us. Please follow me. I'll show you to your rooms, she said. We followed her down the fight hallway. The first room was Shino and mine's, and the second would be for Kiba, Hinata, and Yorichi. After telling everyone good night, we entered the room and me and Shino were out like a light. Until we all heard a loud crash in the other room. Me and Shino woke up. What was that? Shino asked, his emotions slightly betraying his usually cold exterior. We quickly rushed out into the hallway. There we found Kiba smashed against the wall with the door of his and Hinata's room broken to splinters. Yorichi quickly ran out. Jin! The hollow attacked. They took Hinata! She yelled in a very worried state. I clenched my fist and started barking out orders. Yorichi, the clothes you gave me are in a satchel in my room. Put them on. Kiba, back up. Yorichi, stay here as a bodyguard for this and make sure everyone's alright. Kiba and Shino, you two have 15 minutes max to get ready. We're heading to that mountain sooner than planned. If you're not at the door in 15 minutes, then you're being left behind, I said. Yorichi's head shot up. But I'm Hinata's bodyguard, I should go with you. I need you here because you're Hinata's bodyguard. You need to protect the people here. My team's a tracking team. These are the kind of missions we're meant for. Finding a missing comrade. Besides, I can't leave this place under the protection of two genin who haven't trained that much. And before you say anything, Yorichi, I'm the only one who's gonna fight in there. Okay? I told her. After a moment she scrunched her eyes and nodded, heading into the room. As me and the other two quickly walked to the door. We ran into the elder in the hall. And if you can't save her, what then? The man asked me. I just stared at him before answering. I'm not going because I can save her. I'm going because I will save her. I don't fight because I can fight. I fight because I have to. That's my ninja way, I answered, the three of us passing him, heading out into the storm. We were rushing through the forest in a frenzy. Kiba was clearly worried, and Shino, despite his neutral expression, I could tell was too. I looked back at them. Don't worry, we'll get her back. We just need to be careful, I said, trying to reassure them. After a little bit we heard a roar and it was close, so we stopped on some branches and got ready. I drew my Zanpakuto. Get ready, they'll be here any minute, and aim fair the mask, but when you do, destroy it all. Rule number 1 of fighting hollows: never under any circumstances look at what's under the mask, you'll only regret it, I warn them. And not a moment later they attacked. Kiba charged right in with Akamaru, and Shino, I took a stance. Alright, I hear you all got the Sharingan in your eyes. That is, if you're up to it, I said, pointing my blade at him. Sure enough, they flashed on the Sharingan. I smiled coolly. Well, let's begin, I said, launching Shinso at the hollows. They dodged, but I nicked one's arm off, causing it to fall off. It became enraged and charged at me, and I destroyed it with a Kido. A winged hollow charged at me and I dodged, getting higher up. I put my hands together and started doing some hand signs. The hollow came up from the treetops and charged at me as I completed my Kido jutsu. I threw Shinso into the air and put my arms behind me as far as I could. Kido style, Hoshi no Shuringyujimu. I placed my hands in front of me and a beam shot out, incinerating the hollow. 2 more showed up behind me and started to claw at me. I dodged their strikes a bit before jumping on one of their heads and grabbing my Zanpakuto from the air as it was coming down. I shot it at them, but they dodged. Looks like I'll have to take it up a notch, but before I could, one stretched its clawed finger at me and shot it at me like Shinso. I grew surprised and got impaled in the shoulder. I grunted as the creature pulled its claw out and started to laugh. What's wrong, Shinigami? Are you too tired? Maybe you should just quit. If you do, I'll make your death swift. The more you fight, the less likely you'll win. Every move you make, I can see it coming a mile away. When you attack, that attack becomes mine. You are nothing before us, the Shierington class hollows. Ha 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 ha. We'll kill you and those little squirts back though. Wait, I sense one of their Ryatsus has already disappeared, the doggy one I think. Ha ha. Die. It was right, I felt Kiba's Ryatsu disappear too. This was not good, I had to get to him, Shino, and Akamaru fast. I shouldn't have brought them with me. But before I could do anything, the hollow launched another Shinso at me. I dodged but barely. It was stupid to have taken my eyes off the battle, I need to focus. Also, when did I ever care if someone died on my side or not? Sigh. Konoha's made me soft. Not that that's entirely a bad thing either. Well, first things first, I have to deal with this Twip. That's his name now, Twip. Yo, Twip! I called out to the hollow. He glared at me viciously. What did you call me? He asked. Aowa, does the Bwig Boad hollow not like his name? You must have had an excruciating childhood, I said, pouting. He roared at me. My childhood was just fine, thank you very much, he yelled. I tilted my head and scratched my head, looking confused. But you grew up in Hueco Mundo. I thought your life was horrible by default if you lived outside Los Noches, I said. He's got a point, the other hollow said, turning his head to his Twip. Our lives were pretty horrible. He was only met with a claw to the face. Ayakak, he said, reeling back. Shut up and deal with those boys. Twip roared at Looney? Fine, Looney said to Twip, hopping away. Shit, I need to finish this fast. Twip turned around and looked at me glaringly. Prepare to die, Shinigami scum, he yelled, charging at me. I quickly dodged and pointed my fingers at him. Hado number 4 Byakurai, I said, launching the lightning bolt straight at him, hitting him dead center. He got and flew back, crashing through the treetops, and I quickly followed, and before he could reach the ground I sliced Trip in half from a distance with Shinso. He disappeared in ashes just like all hollows. I landed on an unbroken limb and started to make my way to Kiba and the others. I quickly jumped from branch to branch looking for them until I sensed Looney's Ryatsu and followed it. I knew it was the place when Shino hit the tree behind. I quickly caught him and took him to another tree a little ways away before flashing back to see Akamaru growling at Looney with a seriously injured Kiba looking on helplessly. KK. Maru J, just run, he said to the pup. He just ignored him and charged at Looney. Stupid dog. Out of the way. Looney yelled, swiping at Akamaru, causing him to crash into a tree with a yelp. Hey! I yelled, trying to grab Looney's attention. He turned around and growled. So, you're still alive, huh? Well, you won't be for long. He yelled, charging at me, claws bared. I dodged and attacked, swinging Shinso down on him. He blocked with his claws and attacked with his claws, activating his Sharingan. I quickly shot a Byakurai at the claw, causing it to fly off and become impaled in the ground. Using his shock to my advantage, I swiped away his arm and stabbed him right in the mask. He roared and pointed his arm at Kiba. You may live, he said to me, but he won't, he said, firing the tips of his claws at Kiba. I was caught by surprise and didn't have time to react. Kiba! I yelled. But just before they hit him, a blur passed in front of Kiba. I heard the sound of them piercing flesh and the form fell to the ground. It was Akamaru. Kiba turned his head and stared in pure shock. No, he said, tears forming up in his eyes. Akamaru. I rushed over with Looney disappearing behind me. Kiba was clutching the small dog, shaking him and crying. No, please don't die. You aren't dead, right? Stop playing with me. He was clutching the little pup, crying. I walked over and kneeled down. Kiba, take Akamaru's corpse, and I began, but Kiba cut me off. Corpse. Shut up, he's not dead. He's just playing dead, right, buddy? He said, looking down with one of those smiles that said he wasn't convinced of his own words. I shook my head. Face facts, Kiba Akamaru is dead, and this is a battlefield. You can't have an emotional breakdown in the middle of a fight. I dropped Shino off on a tree nearby, grab him, and get to the village. I'll take the rest alone. He nodded and tried to get up but quickly grunted and sat back down. Sorry, I can't. Injuries are too bad, he said. Suddenly we heard a new voice. Really? Well, too bad. For you, that is. I turned around quickly but was quickly cut down with a blade. Standing over me was someone I did not expect to find here. I widened my eyes at the laughing figure above. None other than the former 5th Espada. Norita Gilga. He smiled down at me. It has been a long time, hasn't it, Jin? He said, hitting me with a siro from his finger, hitting me dead in the chest. I think I'll take the boy, thank you very much, he said, grabbing Kiba. Unfortunately, I was too injured to move. I noticed Kiba was now passed out. Norita snapped his fingers and many hollows appeared behind me. He smirked at me. Have fun, Jin. He sonitoed off the hollows coming into the clearing and coming at me. I quickly tried to apply some Kaido to me. Wasn't as good as most from Squad 4, but I'm decent. All I need is to get me moving. Unfortunately, the hollows were closing in on me. Just when I was beginning to think it was over, a sudden blur appeared in the middle of the clearing, mowing down hollows to no end. I saw a flurry of blades flying every which way, chopping of much hollows. But what in my mind sealed my doom was what happened when he stopped. Yo yo yo! What's this now? These strange things they are crawling about. I don't know about you, but I know certainly for me they are not match for Killer B. The fat man wielding 7 blades very stupidly said, starting to rap. Hollows, I think I'm willing to let you eat me right now. Oh, wait, I need to save Hinata and Kiba. Never mind. Don't you worry, Mr. Weird Eyes, the strange things won't beat me. I slay 'em all once and for all and send them on to their graves. Hey. Eat him, Hollows, please. Shino POV. I had no idea how long I was in that tree after Ichimaru-sensei rescued me for. My mind was really just blank on what had happened. Kiba and I pursued the hollow and were able to defeat it. Unfortunately, that's when the larger one showed up and, well, kicked our asses clean off, for lack of a better word. When I see that thing again, I swear on my pride as an Aburame I will tear it limb from limb and personally cast its carcass into the pits of hell itself. Ha 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 ha. Now you know why we Aburames have great emotion control. If we didn't, I highly doubt the surrounding landscape would survive. Fear the Aburame. Just fear them. Well, as I was sitting in the tree, just sitting there. Don't worry, it's not like I was bleeding out or anything. Oh wait. I am bleeding out. Jin-sensei, you are horrible at paying attention. Next thing you know, Kiba will get kidnapped. He's going to get kidnapped now, isn't he? Damn it. As I was saying, I was sitting my tree. Seriously, why a tree? Couldn't Jin-sensei have put me on the ground? Watching my blood flow off it when I heard 2 voices. I'm telling you, we're lost, a female voice said. I couldn't see them since I was in a tree, but who needs to know if possibly your one and only hope for survival is a friend or foe, right? No, we're not, Shizen, an older female voice said. Okay, so the other girl's name is Shizen. Noted. Just saying, I mean, do you even know where we are, Lady Tsunade? Shizen asked Su. Nada. Oh my god, it's the slug Princess Tsunade Senju, mistress of all things healing. I can't believe I left my pictures of all the greatest kunoichi back at my house. I could have gotten an autograph. Cough, that is if you're into that sort of thing. Okay, I am literally in a tree and this is my only hope for survival. How do I get their attention from up in a tree? Oh my Kami, is that tree bleeding? I heard Shizen screech. Well, that solves that problem. I see someone jump up and it is a middle-aged looking woman with short blonde hair, a green jacket, and a very, very interesting upper chest. Fine, I admit I'm a closet pervert. Nowhere near as bad as Jiraiya or Kakashi. Are you okay? She asks me. Really? And she's a medic nin. Well, what do you think, Tsunade Senju? She nods and heads over to me and begins using healing jutsu on me. Don't move, she orders. I just look at her. Please don't bother with me. My team is up ahead and they are in need of dire assistance. Please help them, I ask of her. She nods and looks down. Shizen, deal with this boy's healing. His team is apparently up ahead. I'm going to assist them, she said before quickly speeding off. Wait, I tried to say, but she was already long gone. Well, she'll find out about the giant evil creature soon enough. Now, what about this girl? Oh sweet mother, it's hideous. I mean, look at that disgusting ant. Now, as far as the girl goes. Jin POV. Okay, if these things don't kill me, the raps surely will. I mean, seriously. Does this dude rap horribly all the time? Probably. Now, as I was watching, I decided to count the number of dead hollows: 128. 129. 130. Okay, I'm bored and probably miss like 200 hollows with how fast he's moving. I could easily deal with that many, mind you, but I'm currently on the ground bleeding out. On the ground? Why couldn't it have been a tree? Well, eventually it looked like he was about to get clawed at from behind by a hollow. But before I could warn him, there was a loud boom, and the hollow disappeared, leaving only Tsunade Senju in its place. That's what I call successful physical therapy, I say to no one in particular. Omake, Naruto's Adventures in Rakangai PT2. Running for your life sucks. Especially when followed by a lady who stepped out of a horror movie's nightmare is trying to kill you. I was rushing through the trees trying to get away from Unohana, not doing that well I might add, when I came out into a clearing and lo and behold. There was a giant set of arms? Well, whatever. It's safety. Help me! I cry, running for my life. Unohana was right on me and I thought I was going to die when I suddenly heard. Hey, what's going on here? A female voice said. I look at said voice and see a woman with the biggest boobs you'll see in your life. Ah, Kakako-san, how are you? I heard Anohana's nice voice say and looked to see she no longer had her hair undone, and it was back in a braid with a smile on her face. I heard someone call for help, Kakako said looking down on me. What did the brat do to piss you off? She said deadpanning. Nothing. He just claimed to be the son of Jin Ichimaru, so I thought I'd take him to the Suriidai for questioning, she said politely. Lady, I only said my dad's name was Jin. Never once did I say it was Ichimaru. I got my mother's name. My dad's is Ichigo, I lied hoping it would work. She looked at me raising an eyebrow. Really? My bad. Forgive me, she said walking away. Just when I thought I was in the clear, I felt Kakako dragging me away. Jin! Tsunade yelled in shock, staring wide-eyed at me. The freaking hell were you doing here? She said. I just smirked as she rushed over and began healing my wounds. She then got into her serious face and looked at me. That genin up the road said his team was up ahead. Are they? She began before I cut her off. No. At least not as far as I know. They didn't die, I said before grunting and clutching my side. Well, what's this here? Two Konohanins in the middle of nowhere? I say not, I say it here, he said with his voice sounding fairly not rappy with the final line. This is just too weird. Me and Tsunade looked at each other before moaning. Me and my genin team were on our way back from a mission when we came upon a village. Turns out those creatures you saw, hollows, have been terrorizing the villagers. Me and another Jonin-level shinobi agreed to help. But a hollow attacked and kidnapped one of my students. To keep the villagers safe, I left the other Jonin there to keep with them while me and the other remaining members of my genin team decided to get the girl back. We got separated and one ended up injured, so I left him nearby. That's the one you ran into, Shino. The other one was captured after an enemy caught me by surprise from behind. Kid was in Inuzuka and well, I say, looking towards Akamaru. Tsunade looked over to where I was looking. She nodded understanding. She walked over Akamaru's corpse and got out a sealing scroll. She did a few hand signs and Akamaru disappeared in a puff of smoke, and on the scroll was the kanji for dog. Well now, hey. This is something great. Why don't we work together to save that girl, eh? Killer Bee said, rapping. I turned to him and smiled. Yes, let's, I said, getting up. But before he could react, I launched Shinso right into his gut. I aimed it so that it wasn't lethal or permanently harmful in any way. Well, at least not from the strike itself. I quickly retracted my blade and sheathed it before he could finish registering what happened. What the hell do you do to me? The Kumonin yelled angrily, forgetting about his rapper persona. I held up Shinso for him to see the piece missing. Listen, while I get you are probably genuine about trying to help us. One of my genin is the Hyuga heiress which Kumogakure tried to kidnap. I need to make sure you don't pull anything. See, the deadliest aspect of my blade ain't its speed or its length. It's the poison within the blade. I won't explain the full process to you, but all you need to know is that piece of the blade I left in your stomach had the poison in it. All I need to do is give the word and you'll be dead in an instant. So, don't go trying to steal my students, okay? I tell him. B just smirks and nods. I realized that he knew what I meant and realized my reasoning for it. So, to add insult to injury for the pure fun of it, also, no more rap-in my presence. It's annoying and I don't like it. B's eyes grew shocked, and he jumped back in pure horror. You're evil! How dare you take the love of my life? Why thank you, now come on! I say, shumpling away. B and Tsunade quickly followed behind. In the mountain, third person. Norita Gilga sonitoed into a dark room where a girl was lying strapped to a table. Where am I? She asked nervously. Norita stepped into the light and strapped Kiba to the table next to her. Kiba! Hinata said, shocked. She struggled to get free, but to no avail. Don't fight. It'll just make the process even more painful, a new voice said. Hinata grew shocked and looked in the direction of the voice, revealing a man dressed in all white with pink hair. Who are you? Hinata asked fearfully. The man smiled and bowed. My, how rude of me to not introduce myself. Greetings, I am the former Espada No. 8 Sale Aporo Grands. I welcome you to my humble abode. If it's a little lonely, don't fret, he said pleasantly. But his eyes then scrunched together and looked at her menacingly. And as he spoke, Hinata could just feel dark intentions and callous in the man's words. The bugs will be joining us soon enough. Shizen POV. I rushed through the forest with the Shino kid on my back, hurrying through the forest. I was worried about Lady Tsunade, yes. But getting the Aburame kid back to the village for, hopefully, better medical treatment is my top priority. I ran through the path Lady Tsunade and I were going down on a branching path we didn't take. Hopefully it was the right one. But as I was heading down the path, I saw someone up ahead. I stopped, scooting to a halt. "You there?" I yelled. "Is this the way to the town?" The man was fairly tall, dressed in what looked like a military garb of some sort. He had blonde hair with a turquoise marking on his face. He also wore an eye patch over his left eye. We just stared at each other for a little bit before he drew a weird sword from behind him. "Yes," he replied, "but you won't be making it there alive. Not unless you hand over that boy." I narrowed my eyes before jumping up and placing Shino on a tree branch. It sounded like he was growling or trying to scream, which made me do a double take. I shrugged it off since Abirams don't really express emotions and figured it was my imagination. I jumped off and got into a fighting stance, drawing a kunai. "Not going to happen. He's my patient," I tell him. "Very well," he said, charging at me, preparing to swing his sword, then prepare to die. I jumped out of the way and rolled up my sleeve, revealing my Samban launcher. I launched several Samban at the man, who just simply swung his sword and deflected them. I landed on the ground and drew a few shuriken out of my pouch, but before I could do it, I heard the man say, "Ciro Cornea." Suddenly I was hit with a great amount of pain and was forced back. I quickly skidded across the ground. I tried to get up but couldn't due to my injuries. I tried to heal myself, but before I could even finish the first hand sign, I felt a blade at my throat. "Is that all you're capable of?" "Pathetic," he said. He raised his blade and swung it down on me. But before he could, I got an idea. "Bakudo number 10 Aiju." I quickly cry out. A small purple barrier with a green outline appeared between me and his blade. As soon as it went up, I began Keidu. Flashback. "You two listenin'?" Jin asked. Me and Lady Tsunade looked at each other before looking back at Jin and nodding. "Okay, good. Pay attention, cause I'm only saying this once. Today I'll be teaching you two something called Kido." Now what's Kido, you may ask? Well, in generalization, all Kido is using your Ryoryoku, or chakra in your two's cases, to shape it into something tangible and usable. Now, Kido requires lots of concentration. If you don't regulate yourself, then you'll just end up worse off than before. Even the lower level spell are hard to master. There are three main branches of Kido: Heido, your attacks; Bakudo, your barriers and seals; and Keida, healing spells, he explained to us. I raised my hand. "HM? Yeah, Shizen?" "Well, Jin," I said, "is there any notable differences between Keido and healing jutsu?" I asked. He nodded. "Good question, Shizen. Yes, there are several key differences. First is Keido doesn't require any head signs and can just be turned on, making really useful if you somehow end up dragged into battle without a choice or to heal your fellow shinobi. Second is it starts off healing your energy, chakra or Riraiku, first to help aid in the healing process. I does that fairly quickly though, so you can usually get to the wounds in usually no more than 5 minutes depending on the severity. It's the injuries that take a lot of time. Now, from what I've seen, Keido, excluding those who excel at it, usually is weaker than healing jutsu and not as diverse," he continued. "Could it possibly used in combat outside of healing to per se harm the enemy?" Tsunade asked. "Not sure," Jin said, scratching his chin. "Never seen anyone take it that far, and it ain't my specialty, so. Teach me Kido, as much as you can," I say, jumping up. "I want to learn as much as I can while we're traveling together. That way, if push comes to shove, I won't be useful for anything except healing." I stared Jin in the eyes, which is freaking hard, for a while. I saw his smile grow wider. "Oh, very well. Not that good at Keido, wasn't ever too good at it myself, but I can teach you the basics. And I'm fairly good at Heido and excel at Bakudo. So, let's see what we can do with you." 1 year later. "See ya later, Jin," I say to him. "Think we'll meet again?" He smiled at me and patted me on the head. "Keep trainin' with your Kido and keep those scrolls on the subject with you. You're pretty good at the stuff, especially Keido. I see you going great places with that. If you ask me, you're on the way to surpassing even Unohana in that regards," he said. "Unohana? Who's that?" End flashback. The man grew frustrated and charged around the side, trying to stab at me. I just held up my palm and used Bakudo number 8 Seiki to send him flying back. I quickly dispel Aiju and quickly skidded away, using Keido on myself, healing my wounds. I saw him walk out of the woods and stare at me angrily. "What is your name, woman?" he asked. "Shizen Kato, and you?" I say. He points his blade at me. "Tessera Lindo Cruz." "Shizen Kato, I acknowledge you as a skilled opponent. But this ends now, Ciro." Suddenly a red ball of light appeared at the end of his blade and blasted a beam at me. I quickly held up my hands, which had started to glow dark green, and when the beam hit them, it scattered and hit all over the place, shocking Tessera. What was that?" he asked wide-eyed. "It's a deviation of Keido I recently invented called Reino Hakai. It's the opposite of Keidu, which helps stabilize the flow of Ryuryu. Reino Hakai disrupts and repulses it. It's still fairly new and I haven't been able to use it for long without harming my hands. So, let's end this quickly, I say. He nods and said, Crush, Veruga. Suddenly he was engulfed in a pillar of energy, and he turned into a massive warthog-like humanoid creature 10x my own size. Agreed, let us end this now. He charged at me and tried to punch me. I quickly dodged, doing a flip in the air, and hit him with my Hakai. There was a big shock wave inside him. I didn't feel it, causing Tessera to grab his shoulder in excruciating pain. He grew angry and prepared to punch me again. But before he could even thrust his arm outward, his eyes grew wide, and he fell to the ground, that form of his disappearing. What is this? He said in shock. I got up from my crouching position and smirked. Remember those Saban I launched at you? Well, when I launched them I secretly threw a sixth while you were distracted by the first 5. When it hit you and entered your system, but unlike many poisons whose results are fairly self-activating, this one need a certain trigger. My Reino Hakai, the moment I hit your body it activated the poison, I said, walking away, but not before one last glance back. Oh, by the way. The effects of the poison? It causes your blood to change flow and rip apart your internal organs. I walked away from a screaming Tessera. I jumped onto the tree to pick up Shino. I hate trees, he grumbled. I just chuckled and headed back towards the village. In the mountain 3-person. Well, that was unexpected, Sale noted. Norita just grunted. Sale turned and smirked. What? Not even fazed by your fraction's second death? Oh, wait. You can't be, since I took away all of your emotions and turned you into my slave. Norita just stared blankly at Sale. Their sensei and a few other strong shinobi will be coming, he said blandly. Let them, Sale said, waving his hand. Their presence is of no concern of mine. It just means more test subject. Jin is their sensei, Norita said, catching Sale's attention. One of them almost single-handedly annihilated a whole horde of the Sharon Hollows. The other is Tsunade Senju, the esteemed medic. Sale just smirked. It won't matter, for soon not only will I have a powerful holified shinobi but the Rinnegan as well. He flipped a button and from another area of the room lights started flashing and the entire chamber filled with the screams of Hinata and Kiba. Stall them, Sale ordered Norita, who nodded and began to walk away as Sale laughed. It took us around an hour to reach the base of the mountain. I swear Norita must have used some kind of secret passage, cause he definitely ain't faster than the rest of us. Once we reached the mountain we looked up. It was pretty jagged with no clear path up. Just a bunch of jagged rocks all over the place. That mountain is huge, B said, and pointy. I looked up the mountain and stretched my hands above my head, cracking my knuckles simultaneously. Big or not, my students are in there, so we better get a klimbin, I said. Oh really, Jin? A voice on some hidden speaker said, interrupting me. Wait, I know that voice. Former Espada number 8 Sale Aporo Grands. I thought you were dead, I say menacingly. Oh, Skari, Sale said, and I could say the same thing for you, Jin Ichimaru. You must be a miracle of science. No ordinary man can survive being cut down by a transcendent being. Oh wait. You had help, that's right, the 4th Hokage summoned you just as you were about to die. Shinigami. He said that last part with disgust. Shinigami? He asked, scratching his head. You sure? He sure don't look like a god. Oh, Death Tommy. Doesn't matter, Tsunade said, punching her fist a couple times. We're gonna take this dude down no matter who he is or what Jin is. Oh, I'm afraid I can't allow that. See, I am just on the verge of creating a Rinnegan using the Hyuga girl, he explained. What? Create a Rinnegan? How? I demanded. You might want to relax, this will take a bit, Sale said. Tell me, have you ever wondered what a Kekkei Genkai is? Aside from the whole special jutsu that nearly if not every member of a particular group or clan has. Has anyone ever asked why these specific people and no one else can extend their bones, have hypnotic eyes, affect the ground itself, and bend nature incarnate to their will? Well, that's simple, it's all in their chakra systems. See, every chakra system has slight differentiations. Perhaps a small vein that's a bit closer to certain muscles, or maybe ones that connect to your bones have a large excess leaking off affecting the bone. At your fingertips your own chakra will give off a certain frequency that when activated, causes wood or gold to answer your every whim. Usually these traits will go down from parent to child, perhaps even diverge into different Kekkei Genkais over the generations. My research explores these differences, especially concerning the parts of the chakra system to these eyes. We all tensed at that. I see you are starting to get it. Yes, the same goes for the eyes. But the necessities to awaken the 4 great dojutsu vary, Sale said. 4. Tsunade yelled, shocked. There's another. Ugh, if you'd be quiet and let me finish, Sale said angry. Thank you. Now as I was saying, yes, there are 4 great dojutsu, the Sharingan, the Byakugan, the Rinnegan, and the Tenseigan. If you count the Mangekyo Sharingan separately, that's 5. But despite the fact these are all in the eyes, the chakra networks setting them up differ, even among those of the same type. For example, Byakugan wielders have them since birth, whereas the Sharingan is awakened whenever an Uchiha gains a powerful emotion towards someone, usually love or a strong sense of friendship, and loses that person it awakens the Sharingan, and to gain Mangekyo a Sharingan user must experience a trauma of some sorts, or witness a loved one die. The Rinnegan is awakened when a wielder is on the verge of death, and the Tenseigan has the loveliest requirement of all. It is formed by taking in the chakra of thousands of sacrificed Byakugan into another Byakugan. Well, as I was saying, these all have different releases due to having different chakra systems connected to them. As such, if you could somehow alter these chakra systems, you could not only replicate one but also possibly create new ones, provided they don't die first. Well, once I discovered this, I came here and started volunteering the villagers for these experiments. This place is out of the way and rarely passed by, so I just helped myself. All I could get was Sharingan wielders though, shame. Well, at least they made good hollows? Am I right? Sale said. Needless to say, we weren't happy about this. Are you telling me all of those monsters were once people who you killed? Tsunade yelled angrily at Sale. You are sick and despicable, yo! I can't believe you're human! B yelled. He ain't human, that is, I say calmly but still angry. I didn't bother to see what their reactions were. I knew Sale was twisted, but this is going too far. When I get my hands on him, listen well, you dreaded Arankar. I yell out, if you hurt so much as a skin cell on Hinata or Kiba's, I swear I'll dash. Oh, Sale interrupted me. Like this? The sound suddenly changed to Kiba and Hinata's screams of pain reverberating across the valley. Bastard! I yelled, my Ryatsu going wild. It took me a bit, but I calmed down after the sound stopped playing. You might want to hurry, Jin. Or I'll have both a good set of Rinnegans, a corpse, and a wool-hollowified shinobi boy. But I won't make it easy for you. Norita! Attack! Sale said. We noticed that out of a hatch about halfway up the mountain opened and Norita Gilga came jumping out in full resurrection form, out for blood. But before me and Tsunade were able to do anything, he jumped in front of us and drew his blades. You two go on ahead and rescue your Nakama. I'll deal with this dude, he said, jumping up, giving off this blood-red aura. Come on, Jin! Tsunade yelled, the hatch is still open. I turned my head to her and nodded before we jumped up, and with B's help were able to get through. Just as soon as we entered the hatch, it closed on us. It was pretty dark, but Sunda cast a small fire jutsu to light the way. We walked down a hallway fair a bit until we got into a large open chamber. The only entrance on the level we were on was where we came, but there were walkways pretty high up that had passageways on the other 3 walls. Only problem is that there was no way up to them. Easily, that is. We could probably jump up there if we put a lot of effort into it. Welcome, most honored guests, to my humble abode. Sale's voice ringed out. Hope you don't mind, but my pets were most anxious to meet you. As soon as he said that, Sharingan hollows started popping up from nearly everywhere. I drew Shinso and Tsunade got into a battle-ready position. How many people were I in that village anyways? I comment. Doesn't matter, Tsunade said, looking around. I'll open up a path, Jin. You get going and save your students. I got this. I turned my head slightly and nodded, and we charged right in. I started chopping up hollows and Tsunade punching them to death. I started jumping up the hollows and tried making my way to one of the passageways. But before I could, I noticed out of the corner of my eye a Zero flying my way. I dodged but began to fall. But Tsunade jumped up, grabbed me, and threw me onto the walkway, where I landed with a thunk. Go! She yelled to me. I'll take care of this guy. I nodded, and as I entered the passageway, I saw what it was out of the corner of my eye. A Vasto Lord with the Sharingan. Before I could warn Sunda, a door closed the passageway. Only one way to go, Jin, Sale's voice said, forward. Into the abyss. I sheathed Shinso and clenched my fist. Do not worry, Master. I heard a serpentine voice say. I can smell them. They are mosses, definitely this way. Though, the young boy is somewhat altered. Be very careful. I nodded and thanked Shinso for his advice and started walking. As I walked, I found it disconcerting, with the only sound being that of my echoing footsteps. Yes, I'll admit I was worried for my team, not just for my sake, but